Chapter 57:19 The six-horned evil fly appeared, its demon flames were soaring, and countless runes circulated all over its body. 6 spider-like arms pierced Zui Yan's ribs, directly piercing Zui Yan's body. The sudden change changed countless people's faces, including Feng Xinyue, who was as powerful as her, and didn't notice how Long Chen sent the hexagonal evil fly behind Zui Yan. Suddenly Feng Xinyue thought of the scene when Long Chen used the Eye of Purgatory to tear off Zui Yan's arm with the power of space. Could it be that time? Feng Xinyue's heart trembled. With Long Chen's strength, it was impossible to hide the hexagonal evil fly from her eyes. The only possibility is that when Long Chen tore off Zui Yan's arm, the space at that time was distorted in a large area, and Long Chen used the pupil technique to hide it in the void. But it wasn't right. Afterward Long Chen slapped Zui Yan, and joined hands with Emon Yen to block Zui Yan's blow. In that state, he went all out and tried his best, and he didn't have the power to control the space at all. If there is no continuous power to control the space, the hexagonal evil flies hidden in the space will appear instantly. Suddenly Feng Xinyue looked behind her. At this moment, the runes of the 6 heavenly pupils in the eyes of Bai Xiaola and the little fox were slowly dissipating. So it's them. Feng Xinyue couldn't help but feel a shock in her heart, and the emotional Long Chen shot, angry, and when he used himself as the bait, all the traps had been set in an instant. The most frightening thing is that there is no fluctuation of spiritual thoughts between Long Chen, Emon Yen, Bai Xiaola and Xiaojiu. How did they cooperate so tacitly? Die, Long Chen roared, and without giving Zui Yan any chance, he gnashed his teeth and squeezed Yinjue. Boom! With a bang, the hexagonal evil fly's magic lines burned all over its body, and it blew itself up. The violent magic energy tore apart the sky, and the void exploded like glass, creating a huge hole. Thinking of the ways Zui Yan humiliated Yu Zifeng just now, Long Chen was filled with hatred and directly detonated the 6-horned evil fly. The Qingquan cauldron told Long Chen before that the hexagonal evil fly is a treasure, if it can be brought out of the heavenly vein profound realm, and finally nourished by the laws of the Emperor Heaven, its strength will be more than 10 times stronger. But at this time, Long Chen felt that if he didn't kill Zui Yan he would go crazy, and he didn't care about so many, so he blew himself up directly. Boom! A huge black hole vortex was blown out above the void, and the violent power devoured the power between heaven and earth. However, to Long Chen's disappointment, a big bloody hand protruded from the black hole and grabbed the sky wall. In the end, Zui Yan, covered in blood, crawled out of the black hole. Is this not dead? Gu Yang and others couldn't help gnashing their teeth. This guy is too strong. Seeing this scene, Emon Yen was a little moved. He looked at Long Chen, but Long Chen shook his head. The Purple Crown God Emperor is so powerful that it is hopeless. His purple crown is like a powerful amulet. It is almost impossible to kill him before they have condensed the human crown. At this time, Zui Yan looked miserable and his aura was a bit chaotic, but Long Chen saw that the color of his divine crown had not faded, so he knew that his original power was still powerful. Even if the two of them joined forces again, you can't kill him, or you will die in his hands. This is the price you pay for humiliating my brother. Your head is temporarily stored with you. When my brother recovers, he will personally cut off your head. Long Chen said with a serious face. Although he couldn't kill him, it was still worth recovering some interest. Yu Zifeng was severely injured by Zui Yan. Perhaps it would be the best ending for Yu Zifeng to take revenge himself. Haha, I can't think of it, I really can't think of it. Zui Yan, would be so embarrassing in the hands of you, a brat. If I don't kill you today, how can Zui Yan, gain a foothold in the 9 heavens and 10 places? Zui Yan raised his head to the sky, laughing with a touch of madness in the laughter. He was completely angry, and under the rage, he had lost his mind, and he wanted to kill Long Chen no matter what. Boom! Suddenly Zui Yan crushed a piece of purple jade the size of a fist. The moment the purple jade shattered, the vast power of faith enveloped him. The wound on Zui Yan healed instantly, and his aura returned to its peak state. Zui Yan looked at Long Chen and the others, his mouth parted, revealing a ferocious smile. Today, you must die. Feng Xingyue shook her head and said, even if you use Faith Yujing to temporarily suppress the injury and recover your breath, but you only have a stick of incense time at most, and you sacrificed such a precious thing. Do you think you can kill me in front of me? Longchen? Maybe I'm not your opponent, but I'm afraid you can't protect the person I want to kill. Zui Yan's eyes swept over everyone, with a ferocious smile on his face. He was completely angry, and only blood and death would extinguish his anger. He knew that Feng Xingyue was not easy to mess with, but it was impossible for Feng Xingyue to protect everyone under his attack. It doesn't matter, seniors, you can kill all their disciples when you turn around. Anyway, there are not many left who were killed by Zifeng. Longchen said lightly. Longchen's words caused the expressions of the sword cultivators of Ling Tian's lineage to change drastically, and they couldn't help but backed away. And Zui Yan suddenly became suspicious. Just like Longchen said, there are not many top talents in Ling Tian's sword sex generation. If they are all killed, Lingshen's lineage will die. At this moment, the void in the distance trembled. At some point, Fan Tianda actually set up a teleportation array, and a figure walked out of the teleportation array. Before the person appeared, the voice came first. I really want to see who can keep Longchen today. A bald old man came out, and when they felt his aura, people couldn't help being shocked. It was another purple-crowned emperor. Brahma Pill Valley also came to terrorize the strong. Hey, our Nine Springs Hell family doesn't want to take this muddy water. That little guy named Longchen, as long as he obediently surrenders the blood crystal of the Emperor's Tao, everything is easy to talk about. Beside Li Changjing, a haggard-looking monster with 3 eyes came out holding a staff. Li Changjing even used the formation technique, invited out the terrifying figures in the clan, and another purple-crowned emperor descended, plus Zui Yan, 3 terrifying powers, divided into 3 directions, sealed Feng Sinyu's body all retreats. Seeing the arrival of 3 terrifying strong men, a smile appeared on the corner of Feng Sinyu's mouth. Just as she was about to speak, a vigorous voice came. The world is changing, and people's hearts are not ancient. So many seniors bullying a child, it seems a bit unreasonable. When he heard that voice, Longchen was so excited that his heart beat wildly, he couldn't believe his ears, and hurriedly looked at the source of the voice. Chapter 57:20 Boom, boom, boom. The sky and the earth trembled, and the sound of footsteps approached, and a huge creature bathed in bloody tides slowly approached. Before that huge figure appeared, the vast demon energy radiated out, and even the purple-crowned God Emperor powerhouse suddenly changed color. The billowing devilish energy contained the laws of chaos, and even more so, the murderous intent. As it approached, a figure as tall as 100 feet stepped out from the blood-colored tide. It was a creature resembling a unicorn, but it was covered in blood, and the horn on the top of its head was similar in shape to a dragon's horn, but it shone with a sharp, cold light. In the huge eyes, there are actually 3 pupils, shining with an evil light. Behind it is a pair of bat-like wings, and on the wings are countless runes that look like eyes. When it appears, the fierce breath shocked the audience. This is a species from the era of chaos, and the experts present have never seen it before, but from its terrifying devilish aura, it can be sensed that it is terrifying. That's Linglong Gorfiend. A strong man exclaimed in the distance, and people looked for their reputation, and saw the Long family, one of the 4 great god clans, and the person who exclaimed was an old man from the Long family. It turns out that the strong man from the Long family has also arrived, but although the old man is also a strong man, he is not enough to look at in front of the Purple Crown Emperor. Wait and see. Now seeing the creature with soaring demonic energy, he immediately recognized that it was the fierce demon that had been sealed away by the Long family for countless years but could not be killed. When hearing Linglong Gorfiend, Long Tianrui, who was in the Long family's camp, suddenly felt his heart beat wildly, and looked over Linglong Gorfiend's head. On the head of Linglong Gorfiend, there is a middle-aged man in a long blue dress. Even though he is over middle-aged, his face is still handsome and extraordinary. His sword eyebrows are slanting, and his eyes are as deep as the sea. His face is similar to that of Long Chen. 7 or 8 points are similar, With Long Chen's vigorous handsomeness, he is 7 points mature and 3 points restrained. Mo Nian looked at that person, then at Long Chen. His eyes were as wide as a lantern. "Father!" Long Chen was very excited. The last time he said goodbye, Long Chen experienced thousands of hardships. Now seeing Long Zhantian again, it seems that thousands of years have passed. Long Zhantian nodded to Long Chen, then jumped off Ling Long Gorfin's head, bowed to Feng Xinyue and said, "Thank you, Senior, for taking care of the child." Feng Xinyue smiled slightly and said, "You don't need to be called Senior. I'm afraid it won't be long before you will be a peer." Tang Weiner, who was next to Feng Xinyue, was feeling overwhelmed at this moment. This is her future father-in-law, and she was extremely nervous for a while. Long Zhantian also smiled slightly and came to Long Chen, looking at Long Chen's pale cheeks due to the huge consumption, and the blood stains flowing from the corners of his eyes because of using the eye of purgatory. He couldn't help but feel distressed. At the same time, his eyes were full of blood. This is the only way for a person to grow up. If you want to reach that height, see the unique scenery, and not be stepped on by others, everything in front of you must be experienced. As expected of the son of my Long Zhantian, father is proud of you. Long Zhantian pressed Long Chen's shoulder, his face full of pride. Long Chen was also very excited. His nose was sore, but he held back the tears that were about to flow, even in front of his father. He didn't want him to see his vulnerable side. "Father!" Mo Nian beside Long Chen suddenly shouted excitedly. Long Zhantian was taken aback. Mo Nian hurriedly said, "You don't remember me? I am Long Chen's half-brother." Mo Nian's words directly confused Long Zhantian. When he was still analyzing the relationship between his half-brothers, Long Chen said with a smile, "Father, this is my good brother Mo Nian. Just like a real brother, except for his good eyesight and recognition of a brother like me, he basically has no advantages." Long Zhantian laughed loudly and said, "Okay, I, Long Zhantian, have been separated from my son for so many years and have gone through endless hardships. Now that father and son get together, there are so many more sons. Okay, great." Looking at the dragon blood warriors, Long Zhantian felt their pride and passion for sharing life and death with Long Chen, and his heart was filled with pride and emotion. However, deep in his eyes, there was also a hint of sadness. "Father." Looking at his father, Long Chen suddenly understood that he remembered his brothers who fought with him in Tianwu continent. Unfortunately, they all died. Long Chen knew that this was an irreparable pain in Long Zhantian's heart. "What are you? It doesn't matter if you have a pure-blooded monster. The person Zui Yan wants to kill can't be protected by anyone." At this moment, Zui Yan's cold voice came. At first, he was shocked by Ling Long Gorfin's berserk aura, but seeing that Long Zhantian's aura was normal, although he had the power of the Imperial Way, he was pitifully weak, so he immediately ignored him. Be seen by him. Facing Zui Yan's provocation, Long Zhantian didn't even look at him. He looked at Long Chen and continued, "We are father and son, but we are not the same in the application of Taoism and technique. You pay too much attention to violence, are used to breaking through toughness, and neglect the use of skills, otherwise you will not only have 30% of your strength left, but at least 80% of your strength." 80%? Long Chen was startled. "Don't believe me? Dad will give you a demonstration. He is also the Emperor of God. If he uses the crown of God, he will be too bullied. Watch it." Long Zhantian smiled slightly. Suddenly Long Zhantian dodges, but there is no fluctuation of the power of the Emperor. Long Zhantian has appeared in front of Zui Yan. Zui Yan is startled. He never expected that Long Zhantian would make a sudden attack. Zui Yan took a step back, opened the distance, and slashed out with a sword. On the sharp long sword, the edge roared, and the air was used to the sky. It has to be said that Zui Yan's talent in the way of swordsmanship is astonishing for being able to become the 7th master of Ling Tian. Even if he was killed and caught off guard, his sword moves are still fierce and fierce. However, facing Zui Yan's sharp blow, Long Zhantian did not dodge or dodge, and even grabbed it with his bare hands. When seeing this scene, Long Chen, Mo Nian and others all exclaimed, "How sharp is the power of Zui Yan's sword! Let alone a body of flesh and blood, even a magic weapon would be cut off by his sword. But Long Zhantian didn't condense the royal crown, let alone summon the power of heaven, and didn't even burst out the power of blood. Long Chen was frightened by such a terrifying sword with his flesh and blood. Dang 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 dang. Suddenly there were 5 soft sounds, and Zui Yan's long sword vibrated rapidly, and endless overlapping sword shadows appeared. People's eyes blurred, and they were shocked to find that the long sword was in the hands of Long Zhantian, sharp and sharp. The tip of the sword was already pointing at Zui Yan's throat. At that moment, there was a deadly silence in the audience, and countless people opened their mouths wide, watching this scene in disbelief. Chapter 57:22 The old man of the Long family led a group of senior members of the Long family, followed by Long Zai, Long Tianrui and other disciples of the Long family. In addition to the Long family, the Jiang family, Zhao family and Yi family's strong men were all there, but they chose to watch from a distance instead of coming over. What a shame it's late. Among the disciples of the Jiang family, there was a little confusion. Feng Fei and Jiang Yue rushed forward with hundreds of thousands of Jiang family's disciples. Seeing the situation around them, Jiang Yue clenched her fists with an expression of unwillingness. Jiang Yue and the others were teleported out of the Tianmai profound realm, and they were in chaos. Jiang Yue and Feng Fei were also separated, and the surrounding battlefield was chaotic. She saw Jiang's disciples involved in the torrent of chaos, and hurriedly reached out to rescue them. At the same time, they tried to find a way to contact Feng Fei. The distance between the two was not very far, but in order to prevent the Jiang family disciple who was alone from dying in the chaotic battlefield, they reunited and continued to search for Jiang family disciples in the surrounding battlefields. It was only after confirming that there were no disciples of the Jiang family nearby that they followed the signal to join the elders of the Jiang family. It seems that we missed a wonderful battle. Feng Fei was also a little helpless, and hurriedly asked the Jiang family what happened. Long Zhantian, I didn't expect that your strength has reached this height after only a few months of separation. It's really gratifying. The old man of the Long family laughed and congratulated Long Zhantian. Hearing the old man's words, Long Chen almost didn't laugh. This group of guys even issued a killing order to his father, and even he was implicated. Now, this tone seems to be seeing an old friend, and there is still a hint of flattery. Please, what a sarcasm. Senior, it's all thanks to Ling Long Gorfiend. To put it bluntly, it's also thanks to the Long family. Long Zhantian said with a slight smile. Roar. At this moment, the Ling Long Gorfiend came in front of Long Zhantian and let out a low growl. When it looked at the strong man of the Long family, its eyes were full of cold killing intent. Long Zhantian patted Ling Long Gorfiend's big paw with his big hand. He knew that Ling Long Gorfiend hated the members of the Long family. After all, the Long family had imprisoned it for countless years. During these endless years, the Long family used formations to draw its magic blood and restrict its growth. This hatred penetrated into its soul. The Ling Long blood demon hated the Long family deeply, but it was finally tamed by Long Zhantian, because Long Zhantian, like it, had been imprisoned and had his blood drawn. The experience of one person and one demon is so similar. When Long Zhantian sneaked into the prison, he signed a soul contract with it directly and became the closest partner without talking nonsense. Long Zhantian not only released Ling Long Gorfiend from the prison, but also emptied the blood bank. The so-called blood bank was the place where Ling Long Gorfiend's blood was stored. The blood essence of Ling Long Gorfiend contains the terrifying power of chaos, and at the same time carries a terrifying devilish energy. The Long family wants the power of chaos, but the devilish energy is difficult to get rid of. If you insist on getting rid of the magic energy, you need to consume a lot of resources to purify the magic energy, but this needs to consume endless resources. The Long family was reluctant to part with so many resources and was always looking for a simpler and more convenient method. Therefore, the magic blood was stored and used when there was a solution. As a result, Long Zhantian came and stole all the devil blood accumulated for countless years. This is why the Long family was so furious that they ordered Long Zhantian to kill him. Long Zhantian carried the weak Ling Long Gore fiend with him and escaped from the Long family. Since then, there has been no news. Now, when they see Long Zhantian and Ling Long Gore fiend, they are already existences that can only be looked up to. Those who feel very uncomfortable. Now that the Ling Long Gore fiend looked at them, they felt that their souls were about to be torn apart. Just one look could make their souls fly away. They finally saw the horror of this chaotic alien species. Long Zhantian patted the Ling Long Gore fiend, comforted it, and said, "I heard that the Long family issued an order to kill me? And even my son Long Chen was also implicated by this. I don't know if it's true or not. There must be some misunderstanding. Why didn't I know about this situation?" The old man was taken aback, then looked at the person behind him, and said with a serious face, "Is there such a thing? This?" The strong men behind the old man suddenly looked weird and hesitated for a while, not knowing what to say. The old man frowned, turned to look at Long Zhantian and said, "Perhaps there is some misunderstanding. It is a great thing for the Long family that you can subdue this exquisite blood demon. Who made such a stupid order? After the old man returns, he must report to the patriarch." Seeing the old man's serious face, Long Chen simply turned his face away. He was afraid that he couldn't help but laugh out loud. This play is too embarrassing, right? I don't believe that you don't know about such a big matter in the Long family. Seeing that your father is powerful now, and you are starting to sing red faces and bad faces again, do you really think others are fools? Long Chen's heart was full of contempt. The Long family could be so shameless. This guy's thick skin is really insightful. Ah, it turned out to be a misunderstanding. That's good. Long Zhantian smiled slightly, and he didn't expose the old man. The old man said, "Your father and son are both children of my Long family, with the blood of Zhili flowing, and one day you will return to the gods. Now that Emperor Heaven is undergoing a change, the power of chaos begins to recover. At that time, the hidden races in the 9 heavens and 10 places will appear one after another. A new era is coming. 10,000 races will contend for the battle. The Protoss needs your power. Come on." This guy even tried to pull Long Zhantian and Long Chen and his son into the Long family's camp. Long Chen almost yelled at him. "Do you think our father and son will go back for the bad things that your Long family has done? Let's talk about this later." Facing the old man's invitation, Long Zhantian couldn't deny it. No one knew what he was thinking. "That's good. If you father and son are reunited, we want to disturb you father and son to reminisce about the old days. With the advent of the new era, the ancestral land of the Long family will also connect with the new world, and the Long family will move to the new site at that time. But it doesn't matter, the Long family is a Protoss family after all, and you only need to inquire about it casually, and you will know where we are. The door of the Long family will always be open to you." The old man smiled slightly, and left with the strong man of the Long family after speaking. Among the disciples of the Long family, Long Tianrui smiled at Long Chen, waved his hand and left, while Long Zhe was full of resentment and unwillingness. Obviously, this time, he was completely defeated. The disciples of the Long family left, and other strong gods also left one after another. When Feng Fei and Jiang Yue left, Long Chen waved to them. Soon, apart from Long Chen, there was still a group of people left on the battlefield. These people were carrying the banner of the Four-Party Alliance. They were the strong men of the Four-Party Alliance. They were waiting for Su Yu and others to return. "Long Chen, it's great to be born in the same era as you. Although we will never be as powerful as you, we will never stop." Su Yu came to Long Chen with admiration and courage in her eyes, and she uttered her heart. Watching Su Yu and others leave, the Dragon Blood warriors all waved goodbye to them. Even though they were not strong enough, they were a group of brave men worthy of respect. "Release Zifeng, let's help him heal." Everyone left, Long Chen said to Emon Yen. Chapter 57-23. The coffin was opened, and Yu Zifeng appeared in front of everyone. He had seen Yu Zifeng before, but when he saw it again, Long Chen was still full of murderous intent. Yu Zifeng's whole body was nailed with nails. The nails were full of soul runes, and there was Wei Yan's soul fluctuations on them. It looked like it was written by him. This beast, Gu Yang gritted his teeth and said, Yu Zifeng must be enduring unimaginable torture. Trouble, these nails have Zui Yan's soul imprint on them. Once touched, they will explode. The most frightening thing is that these nails are connected with soul seals. If anyone is moved, the other nails will be detonated. After checking these nails, Xia Chen's expression changed. There is no way to remove it? Long Chen asked. There is a way, but it will take a lot of time. I'm afraid Zifeng won't last that long, Xia Chen said. Let me do it. At this time, Long Zhantian came over and slowly pressed his big hand on Yu Zifeng's chest, and the colorful divine light surged, covering all the nails. With a lift of Long Zhanshan's big hand, a total of 360 nails were pulled out from Yu Zifeng's body. Father is amazing, this control is too strong. Long Chen praised sincerely. The biggest difficulty in pulling out the nail is to have equal strength, and the strength on the nail must not be unbalanced, and there must be no difference, otherwise all previous efforts will be wasted. Xia Chen can pull it out through the formation, but there are a lot of arrangements in the early stage. Although Long Chen is very confident in his control, he dare not try even if he uses the most gentle power of purple blood. Because he knew that with his strength, the failure rate was extremely high, and if he made a mistake, Yu Zifeng would die, so he didn't dare to bet. But seeing Long Zhantian do it with a wave of his hand, Long Chen was so impressed with his control, his eyes were full of envy. If he could do this, maybe he would have a chance to kill the idiot Zui Yan. Cough, cough, cough. The nail was pulled out, Yu Zifeng's body trembled, and he coughed after breaking the seal. Zifeng, seeing Yu Zifeng wake up, Long Chen and others were overjoyed. Yu Zifeng leaned against Song Mingyuan, his face pale as paper, but his eyes were still sharp. When he saw Long Chen, Yu Zifeng smiled. I knew that as long as I fuse with the sword god's fragments, the boss will have a chance to save me. It's a pity that your boss is incompetent and failed to help you get rid of this idiot. Long Chen said bitterly. Hearing what Long Chen said, Yu Zifeng's eyes lit up immediately. That's the best. When I understand the sword intent in the sword god fragment, I'll hack him to death. Don't hack him to death, use these nails to nail him to death. Bai Xiaole added. Yu Zifeng smiled slightly and wanted to speak, but his eyelids were extremely heavy, so the words came to his lips and he couldn't utter them. You rest first, wait for your body to recuperate, and then seek revenge on him. At that time, whether you chop it into a meat paste or mince it, depends on your mood. Long Chen hurriedly fed a pill to Yu Zifeng, and Yu Zifeng immediately fell into a deep sleep. Yu Zifeng's body was weak, and this kind of trauma was extremely harmful to him. A pure sword cultivator like this is very rare in this world. Long Zhantian looked at Yu Zifeng with a hint of admiration on his face. Father, what is a pure sword repair? Long Chen asked. Long Zhantian said, pure sword cultivation is the most primitive sword cultivation, a unique cultivation system created by the sword god. The characteristic of this lineage is that their whole heart and soul are integrated into the sword. The sword is their life, and there is nothing other than the sword. There are countless practitioners in the world, but the power of swordsmanship is the best in the world, and the swordsmanship here refers to the lineage of the sword god. And the previous Zui Yan was from another branch. They cultivated swords, cultivated body, cultivated qi, cultivated spirit, and cultivated soul. The reason why he was able to block your knife with bare hands is because you have reservations about that knife on the one hand, and on the other hand, it is also because of his physical strength, which is also very strong. It was only then that Long Chen came to a sudden realization. No wonder his sword and his people could bring him great pressure when facing Zui Yan. Long Zhantian continued. As for the lineage of the sword god, the body, energy, spirit, and soul all belong to the sword in the hand, abandoning all methods, and only cultivate one sword. Therefore, the attack power of this vein is the strongest, but at the same time, it is also the most vulnerable, because the sharper the blade, the thinner it must be, and the thinner the blade, the easier it is to collapse. Therefore, Ling Tian's lineage has changed their course. A sword is a sword, and a person is a person. They practice both. Even if they don't have a sword in their hands, they are still the most powerful. The combination of swords and people is the pinnacle of their strength. To put it bluntly, I just don't have confidence. Long Chen pouted. Long Zhantian laughed, patted Long Chen on the shoulder and said, "To put it bluntly, you are not confident. If you are full of confidence in the sword in your hand, with a sword in hand, you will be invincible in the world. Is it redundant? Ling Tian's lineage is just superfluous. Calling himself a sword god is simply laughable." From Long Zhanshan's tone, he looks down on this so-called Ling Tian sword god. Of course, from the methods of Ling Tian Seven Masters and Ling Tian Sword Sect disciples, it can be seen that this lineage is not a good thing. "Father, why don't you leave when you come this time?" Long Chen asked. "I have to go, and not only do I have to go, but I also need you to go with me." Long Zhantian said. "Where are you going?" Long Chen asked. "Go to the Purple Blood Clan." Long Zhantian said. "Have you found the Purple Blood Clan? Is there any news about your mother?" Long Chen was so excited that his voice trembled. "There are some clues about your mother's news, but I'm not sure yet. I've already found your grandfather." Long Zhantian said, his voice was also full of excitement. Immortal King Zichuan, that figure with serious face, aloof and withdrawn on the surface, but wise as the sea, suddenly appeared in Long Chen's mind. Luo Zichuan is a very courageous person. When he was in the Immortal King realm, he embarked on the road to relieve his ancestors alone. Later, by chance, in the secret realm, I met my grandfather again, and after a while, there was no more news. It is said that the hunting clan has already grasped the position of the purple blood lineage, but Long Chen fought against the hunting clan several times. Either he had no chance to get news, or the information he got was of little value. Now when he heard Long Zhantian say that he found his grandfather, Long Chen was overjoyed, and there was hope for the family reunion. Long Chen was both excited and nervous at the thought of seeing his mother whom he had never met before. "Don't get excited, I'm afraid it's not that simple to enter the purple blood lineage." Looking at the excited Long Chen, Long Zhantian said. "What?" Long Chen was stunned. "I'm a sinner of the purple bloodline, you know, so I need you to lead the way to enter the purple bloodline." Long Zhantian said helplessly. When Long Chen heard this, he immediately understood that because of his mother's affairs, Long Zhantian didn't have direct contact with the Zixue family, but returned to look for him, because the blood of the Zixue family flowed in Long Chen's body. "Senior." At this time, Long Chen sent a message to the Chaos Dragon Emperor, and now the plan has changed. Chapter 57-24. Long Chen spread out his palm, and there was a fist-sized purple spar in his palm. When the purple spar appeared, the vast power of dragon blood surprised the dragon blood warriors. "This is," Long Chen said, "this is the blood crystal of the Emperor's Way, which is the most essential part of the reverse scale of the Emperor's Way. It not only contains the purest dragon blood power, but also contains the laws of the Emperor's Way. By absorbing it, when everyone advances to the human emperor, they can directly condense the purple human crown." "The purple person's crown?" Guoran and the others couldn't help but gasp. Only then did he understand why Fan Tianda, Minglong Tianfeng and others wanted to get it even after all their lives. "Because I want to go to the Purple Blood Clan with my father, I can't go with you for the time being. After you return to the Dragon Realm, open the Dragon Pond and put the blood crystals in it. The power of the blood crystal is enough to complete the baptism for everyone. As for how much each person can absorb, it depends on the nature of the individual." After Long Chen finished speaking, he handed over the Emperor Dao blood crystal to Gu Yang. Suddenly Feng Xingyue said, "Your Longyu, because of the change of the Nine Heavens law, cannot be in the invisible small world. And all kinds of small worlds are springing up like mushrooms. Maybe there are enemies coming out next to your dragon domain, so be careful when you go back." Long Chen is not worried about Longyu. After all, the Chaos Dragon Emperor can pay attention to them, and the current Dragon Blood Legion is enough to be alone. As long as they are not at the level of the Purple Crown God Emperor, no one can threaten them. In addition, Yu Zifeng has already started to fuse the Sword God fragments. He already has the best combat power, and when he wakes up, his strength will inevitably skyrocket. Long Chun couldn't threaten the Purple Crown God Emperor level powerhouse, but Long Chun believed that with Yu Zifeng's terrifying attack power and the cooperation of the Dragon Blood Legion, even the Purple Crown God Emperor might not be able to please him. Seeing that they were just reunited and were about to be separated again, although Bai Shirshir tried her best to act natural, she couldn't help but her eyes turned red. Shirshir, don't go back to Longyu with them. You have the power of gold, but you can't use it. Come to Fengshanhai Pavilion, and I will teach you how to use the power of gold. Feng Xinyue looking at Bai Shirshir Dao. As soon as she heard that her master was going to teach Bai Shirshir, Tang Weiner was overjoyed. Long Chun left, at least Bai Shirshir could keep her company. Bai Shirshir hurriedly saluted and thanked Feng Xinyue, and the reluctance in her heart was also diluted a lot. When she was with Tang Weiner, at least she could chat and have common topics to comfort the pain of lovesickness. When Long Chun looked at a man who was still eating, he suddenly felt a little troubled. No matter whether he was sent to Longyu or Fengshanhai Pavilion, there was something wrong. Who would hunt and eat for him? Besides, in the eyes of others, the strong people in Longyu are all human beings, but in his eyes, they are all meat, and it would be very awkward to get along with each other. But it can't be brought with you. Listening to Long Zanshin's tone, only people with purple blood can enter the Purple Blood Clan. Little Lord. At this moment, there was a shout of surprise from a distance. The sound was like a thunderclap, which shocked Long Chen and others. Immediately afterwards, Long Chen saw countless huge figures rushing towards a man like a torrent. The head of the person is extremely strong, and the muscles of the whole body are high. It seems that there is a savage dragon dormant in the body. On the bald head, there are countless purple lines. Long Chen and others were surprised. This person turned out to be a Purple Crown Emperor level exists. Uncle Zheng am here. Hearing that voice, a man raised his head and was immediately excited. He stood up and waved at them continuously. Young master, my little ancestor has found you. The bald old man was so excited at this moment. With a relieved look on his face, he ran all the way to A-Man and hugged A-Man. A-Man was originally huge, but the old man was even stronger. In front of him, A-Man was like a child. And the group of young people who followed the old man were a little strange. All of them had bruised noses and swollen faces. Although they looked very happy, there was more or less resentment in their eyes. The old man patted A-Man's shoulder hard and said with anger on his face, "You brat, you ran away without a trace. Do you know how worried I am? Do you know how painful it is for Uncle Zheng to beat someone?" A barbarian warrior limped and said, "Feelings were in Tainmeikshuan territory, lost a man, and these people split up to look for it. As a result, the barbarian warriors were completely divided, let alone a man, each of them didn't know where he was. When they were teleported out of the Tianmai Profound Realm, this group of guys ran around in the crowd without knowing the direction, looking for A-Man's figure. At that time, the battlefield was chaotic, and some people ran for their lives and they followed suit. After running a long way, they realized that something was wrong and ran back again. When they came back, they finally sensed Uncle Zheng's breath and gathered together. When they found out that a man was lost, Uncle Zheng became very anxious and beat everyone up without saying a word. It had to be said that Uncle Zheng had a bit of a brain and led the crowd around the abyss for a long time. However, at this time, everyone was gone, and there was no one to be seen along the way. Everyone was so anxious that they were about to cry. At this time, they saw the figures of Long Chen and others. When they saw a man lowering his head to eat meat, their tears were about to come down. This little ancestor was finally found. "Uncle Zheng, this is my brother Long," a man said. The man named Uncle Zheng looked at Long Chen. When he saw Long Chen, the dragon blood in Long Chen's body boiled instantly, and he almost summoned the dragon blood to fight. Long Chen couldn't help being startled. This person is so strong. Uncle Zheng was also taken aback. Obviously, he felt the violent dragon blood power in Long Chen's body, and when he looked at Long Zhantian and Feng Xinyue, his pupils shrank even more. His intuition told him that these two people are very scary. Especially Feng Xinyue, who seemed to be weak, seemed to have endless power in her body. Uncle Zheng crossed his arms in front of his chest, bowed to Feng Xinyue and Long Zhantian, and then said to Long Chen, "The young master often mentions your name, and seeing you today is really extraordinary." Long Chen could see that this Uncle Zheng was powerful and arrogant in his bones. If it wasn't for Feng Xinyue and Lao Dai who could calm him down, I'm afraid he wouldn't be too polite. "You came at the right time. I'm going on a long trip. I can't take care of Ah Man, so it'll trouble you," Long Chen said. At this moment, Ah Man realized that Long Chen was leaving again, this time without him. He couldn't help being anxious. "Brother Long." Long Chen comforted, "My good brother, this time is different. The 9 heavens have been connected, and the myriad ways are in harmony. There is no barrier anymore. When Brother Long finishes his work, he will come to you. By the way, this thing is for you." After Long Chen finished speaking, he waved his hand, and the huge carcass of the sea whale lay across the sky. The previous carcass of the sea whale had been swallowed by the black soil, and this one was still intact, so it was simply left as a snack for Ah Man. Uncle Zheng couldn't help being surprised when he saw the dead sea whale. This is a very rare species and extremely precious. Seeing that Long Chen gave such a precious thing to Ah Man, the cold arrogance in the depths of Uncle Zheng's eyes couldn't help but a little less. In the end, Long Chen coaxed and lied, and Ah Man was willing to leave with his tribe. Long Chen finally looked at Mo Nian. Chapter 5725. What's your plan? "Me? Jushintong, the secret realm is here. I'm afraid I'm busy." Mo Nian pretended to be helpless. Everyone couldn't help casting contemptuous glances at him. The 9-day imprisonment disappeared, and there was no limit. He could traverse all the way. Thousands of races showed up one after another. This guy must have to study whose tomb has more background. "It's strange that we haven't seen Hu Feng," Guoran suddenly said. In fact, Long Chen was also surprised that he could guide Ah Man to find him, but he never showed up. Moreover, the 9-star female warrior Long Chen rescued did not show up from the beginning to the end, and the green-haired parrot did not move at all, which is very strange. It's nothing surprising. There are many secret entrances to the Tianmai profound realm. Wherever they come in, they will return the same way. Feng Xinyue explained. Hearing Feng Xinyue's explanation, everyone suddenly understood, so they don't have to worry. Feng Xinyue said, "The 9-day imprisonment has just been lifted, the power of chaos has begun to recover, and the laws of heaven have gradually improved. During this period of time, it is not suitable for cultivation, and when the Tao of heaven is unstable, it is even more impossible to hit the human sovereign realm. So, take advantage of this time. You should consolidate your cultivation and prepare for the advancement of human sovereign." Long Chen nodded and said, "Everyone, take it as a vacation and relax properly, and when I'm busy with things here, come back and go through the tribulation together. When we advance to the human sovereign level and become the purple-crowned human sovereign, we will have the strength to fight against the purple-crowned divine sovereign." Hearing about the catastrophe, the dragon blood warriors became excited, because every time they crossed the catastrophe, it meant a rebirth. With the help of the power of the catastrophe, they would temper their bodies and souls, and they would grow together with the dragon soul in their bodies. After explaining some details, Linglong Gorfiend carried Long Chen and his son, and flew away under the gaze of everyone. The dragon blood warriors led the dragon warriors, set foot on the 10,000 dragons' nest, bid farewell to Feng Xinyue, and drove the 10,000 dragons' nest roaring away. "Okay, don't be sad, we will be reunited soon." Seeing that Tang Weiner and Bai Shishi's eyes were reddish, Feng Xinyue couldn't help but smile when she saw that they were about to cry at any moment. Feeling a little embarrassed by what Feng Xinyue said, Tang Weiner changed the subject and said, "Master, they all have horses and mounts, you won't let us walk back with our legs. What's the matter?" "When I came here, some people were chatting and laughing, but now I'm walking with Master, I don't like it." Feng Xinyue squinted at Tang Weiner, pretending to be unhappy. "What's the matter with Master? I have no complaints or regrets. Even if my feet are worn out, I will never frown." Tang Weiner hurriedly took Feng Xinyue's hand and said with a giggle. Feeling the mother-daughter relationship between the master and the apprentice, Bai Shishir couldn't help but feel sore. She suddenly thought of her mother. It seems that she has never been so intimate with her mother since she was a child. She always pretends to be arrogant. Every time her mother takes her hand, she will refuse. Now thinking about it, she feels extremely uncomfortable. After following Long Chun, she went through endless risks and brushed shoulders with the god of death several times. She was suddenly a little scared, afraid that one day she would not have the chance to say sorry to her mother. Bai Shishir suddenly realized that before she met Long Chen, she was so unreasonable, and she felt a little annoying. Fortunately, she finally grew up after meeting Long Chen. Okay, reading thousands of books is not as good as traveling thousands of miles. The world measured on foot is completely different from the world viewed from the sky. Let's go back the same way, and you will find that the world has completely changed. After Feng Xinyue finished speaking, she led everyone away slowly. Boom! Linglong Gorfiend walked slowly. The claws of the devil's blood stepped on the void, bursting with bloody flames, and dyed the sky like footprints like petals. Linglong Gorfiend's speed was not fast, because Long Zhantian was not in a hurry, and Long Chen also understood what Long Zhantian meant. Along the way, Long Chen felt the changes in the heaven and earth, and the Emperor's heaven was indeed not the original Emperor's heaven. The power of heavenly Tao no longer targets him. For the first time, Long Chen felt the selfless intimacy of heavenly Tao towards him. Long Chen could also feel a little bit of it before, but that kind of intimacy seemed so far away and so powerless. But now, it was as if there were a pair of invisible big hands holding him in the palms, and the power of heaven was at his disposal, without any barriers. How does this feel? Long Zhantian couldn't help laughing at Long Chen's expression of enjoyment. I tried my best but couldn't get the things that other people have at their fingertips. Now that I finally got it, I suddenly felt that it's really good to be an ordinary person. Long Chen laughed. Facing his father, Long Chen had a feeling of facing the great emperor. They were as wise as the sea, as if everything in the world could not be hidden from them. Doctors don't knock on doors, teachers don't go along the way, teachings don't pass on lightly, and Dharma is not sold cheaply. It is precisely because of untold hardships that we cherish it even more. Everything is divided into process and result. Many people only care about the result, but they don't know that without the process, there is no result. Long Zhantian said. Long Chen nodded. On this point, he and his father have the same point of view. Sometimes the process is more important than the result, but there are very few people who can really understand this sentence. The road in this world is not taken in vain. Every step counts, even if it is a way back, it counts. You have gone through endless tribulations now, and your Tao heart is as firm as a rock. In terms of Tao, Dad has nothing to teach you. However, in terms of skills, you still have a lot of room for growth. Long Zhantian said. Hearing Long Zhantian's words, Long Chen was very excited. Father, are you going to teach me how to practice? Long Zhantian smiled. Silly boy, you have reached this level. Don't you know that cultivation is unteachable? Baby is stupid, I didn't understand what you mean. Long Chen scratched his head and said. Long Zhantian stroked Long Chen's head with his big hand and said with a kind smile on his face, It is said that it is easy to learn the Tao and difficult to enter the Tao. It is easy to enter the Tao and difficult to realize the Tao. It is easy to understand the Tao and difficult to practice the Tao. It is easy to cultivate the Tao. It is difficult to practice the Tao. And it is easy to practice the Tao and difficult to prove the Tao. Cultivation refers to cultivating the Tao and practicing the Tao, entering the Tao and enlightening the Tao. It can be guided, but after entering the stage of practice, you cannot participate through external forces. When you look back on the past, what you have learned is Tao or art. Has anyone ever taught you how to practice the Tao? Long Chen's heart was shocked. Looking back on the past, whether it was the Chaos Dragon Emperor, the Qinkuan Cauldron, or the abilities he obtained through various channels, they were all in the category of magic. It is only today that I understand the true meaning of the word practice. After entering this stage, one cannot be pointed out and no one can point it out. Entering the Tao and enlightening the Tao are the roots, cultivating the Tao and practicing the Tao are the flowers and leaves, and proving the Tao is the fruit? That's how the Tao fruit comes from. Long Chen slapped his thigh and said. At that moment, Long Zhantian smiled. His eyes were full of relief and pride. Chapter 57:26 Long Zhantian said, for example, if you want to build a road from the foot of the mountain to the top of the mountain, entering and enlightening the Tao are your direction and determination, as well as the various tools and abilities you need to equip before building the road. To put it bluntly, before you start, you need to simulate a road to the top of the mountain in your mind and understand the tricks before you can proceed to the next step. Cultivating the Tao is based on entering and enlightening the Tao, knowing how to choose the cornerstone and laying the foundation for the road. This is a very difficult stage, and there is no tricky way, so it becomes a hard practice. Since it is the most bitter, why do you say that cultivating the Tao is easy and difficult? Long Chen asked. Although this process is bitter, people at this time often have firm beliefs and concentrate on cultivating hard. Seeing the road getting wider and smoother, the sense of accomplishment in their hearts is increasing day by day, and there is joy in the pain. This is not hard. Long Zhantian said, but after building a road, when you are walking on it, suddenly the road collapses, or you find that the direction is crooked, or even reversed. At that moment, many people will fall into endless pain. Some people are not firm in their morality, they will give up, they will collapse, they will fall into the way of demons, and they will deny themselves. Long Zhantian looked at Long Chen and said. Long Chen's heart beat wildly. Isn't that what he was talking about? His inner demons seemed to be born in this way. Those confused years and painful experiences made him afraid after thinking about it. Long Zhantian continued. When a person is cultivating the Tao, his eyes cannot see, his mouth cannot speak, and his heart cannot move. Therefore, when entering the Tao and enlightening the Tao, the determined direction is very easy to deviate when practicing the Tao. Walking the road is walking on the road paved by yourself, only to find that the road you expected is also different from the road you walked on. What you thought was a broad road, but in fact it is rugged, crooked, sinister and reborn, and you can't go on at all. At that time, many people will go crazy. The so-called practice is easy to prove the way? Long Chen trembled. This topic is too far away and I can't answer you. During the years of being imprisoned, I have been calculating my own way, calculating my own technique all the time. This is also the reason why I can use the technique to the extreme. During the period before reaching the Purple Blood Clan, Dad will pass on the essence of all his comprehension to you. Long Zhantian patted Long Chen's shoulder vigorously and continued. Chainer, it's still the same sentence. This road of life is not taken in vain, every step counts, even if it is a turning back. This is what Long Zhantian repeated. His tone was very meaningful. Long Chen suddenly had a feeling of enlightenment. Every step counts, so the demons also count? At that moment, his eyes lit up instantly. Long Zhantian couldn't help laughing when he saw that Long Chen could understand his own words instantly. He really deserves to be his own son. He can instantly understand the experience he has summed up over the years. Suddenly, the Linglong Gorfiend stopped, and Long Chen was taken aback. He looked around and saw the barren mountains and mountains, nothing unusual. Suddenly a huge force came, and Long Chen, who was caught off guard, was directly thrown out. Chainer, next, Linglong is your opponent. You have to be careful, because it just withdrew its own blood power. Its control of power is a bit rough. Long Zhantian stood in the void and said to Long Chen. Roar. Suddenly the Linglong Gorfiend let out a low growl, and bloody flames burned all over his body. The coercion at the level of the Purple Crown God Emperor was released instantly, and the earth was instantly shaken to pieces. Linglong Gorfiend's 4 claws stretched open the ground, like a bolt of lightning pounced on Long Chen. The sharp claws were like knives, carrying the power to destroy the world, and slapped Long Chen fiercely. Grass grip, Long Chen was shocked. Everything happened too fast. The Linglong Gorfiend didn't give him any time to prepare. It was a killer move. As soon as he made a move, it was clearly killing him. Boom! Long Chen didn't even have time to open the dragon's blood battle body. The sharp claws of Linglong Gorfiend had already pierced through the air, and Long Chen held the dragon bone Shiyue and slashed at the sharp claws. With a bang, the Qi Shiyue was directly blown away by the sharp claws, Long Chen's arms were numb, and the tiger's mouth was cracked. Ling Long Gorfiend opened its mouth wide, and its scarlet tongue pierced Long Chen like a sharp sword. God Royal, Long Chen stopped drinking, opened his big hand, and the shield of the gods emerged. Click, however, his divine shield was pierced by the tongue like a sharp sword. With a flash, Long Chen slashed past Long Chen's shoulder, blood splashed, and Long Chen's shoulder was instantly scratched by the tongue. However, before Long Chen could catch his breath, the Ling Long Gorfiend's tail stabbed at Long Chen again like a long whip. Only then did Long Chen realize that its tail could be stretched freely, with a bone spur growing on the tip of the tail. Boom boom boom. The bone spurs were like lightning and galloped crazily. In the storm-like attack, Long Chen dodged left and right, and was almost stabbed by the bone spurs several times. Boom with a bang, the purple air soared into the sky. Long Chen finally had the opportunity to summon the purple blood battle body. The sound of the dragon's chant resounded through the sky. Long Chen made a big move, the Keel evil moon flew back, and chopped off with a single blow. The waving moon shocks the sky. Boom! Facing Ling Long Gorfiend's attack, Long Chen held back his anger. This blow directly used all his strength, and Keel Shiyue slashed on Ling Long Gorfiend's head fiercely. As a result, there was a loud bang, and the sword energy was directly shattered by the horn of the Ling Long Gorfiend. Long Chen was so shocked that he almost spurted out a mouthful of blood. Long Chen never thought that the horn of the Ling Long Gorfiend was the most powerful part of his body. Roar! Long Chen's knife also seemed to arouse the anger of Ling Long Gorfiend. Its eyes became fierce in an instant, and the three pupils in the eyes twisted at the same time. When he saw its distorted pupils, Long Chen was horrified, and a strong threat of death filled his heart instantly, and his figure flickered rapidly. Boom! The position where Long Chen was located exploded. Pupil technique. Long Chen was startled. This Ling Long blood demon was able to learn pupil art, and it was activated silently. Boom boom boom. The void kept shattering. Long Chen dodged continuously, and his speed increased to the extreme. Under the terrifying attack of Ling Long Gorfiend, he didn't even have a chance to make a move. Long Chen still has countless supernatural powers that he hasn't used yet, but Ling Long Gorfiend's attacks are too intensive. In the blink of an eye, he attacked dozens of times. This is Long Chen. If it were someone else, he would have been killed long ago. Relying on his strong fighting awareness and rich experience, Long Chen narrowly avoided death attacks time and time again, but the Ling Long Gorfiend kept attacking, so he had no chance to fight back. What shocked Long Chen the most was that any strong person's attack needs to take a breath. This kind of stormy attack cannot last for a long time. Once it takes a breath, Long Chen can take the opportunity to fight back. But this exquisite Gorfiend attacked for a whole stick of incense in one breath, attacking violently without any pause, as if it didn't need to breathe at all. Boom! Finally, Long Chen couldn't hold on any longer, and was hit by Ling Long Gorfiend's tail whip. The sound of bone cracking came out, blood spurted wildly, and flew out in embarrassment. Chapter 57:27. Boom! On the ground, Long Chen continued to roll far away, and finally knocked the ground out of a big hole, lying on the ground motionless. Long Zhantian stood in the void, watching all this calmly. Ling Long Blood Demon also stopped attacking, and slowly put away the magic flame. I don't know how long it took before Long Chen came to his senses. He saw his father in the distance and walked slowly to his side. He said with shame on his face, "My child is incompetent, please criticize me. You have done a very good job. Being able to persist for so long under Ling Long's full attack is far beyond my expectation." Long Zhantian laughed. After a pause, Long Zhantian asked, "What experience do you have?" "The speed is too slow, and the rhythm is completely controlled by Senior Ling Long. If you are led by it, failure will happen sooner or later." Long Chen pondered for a while. Long Zhantian nodded. "Is there any way to deal with it?" "Just try again and you'll know." "Call." The Keel Shiyue carried it on his shoulders. Long Chen didn't directly answer Long Zhantian, but stepped forward with one step. Amidst the roar of thousands of paths, he directly summons Zilong Zhantian. Long Zhantian couldn't help laughing. This kid, he wanted to give Long Chen some pointers, and then let Long Chen fight Linglong Gorefiend, but Long Chen seemed to have realized something, and even his old man refused to say anything, so he did it directly. Long Chen was injured just now. Although his bones were broken, Linglong Gorefiend kept his hand. When Long Chen woke up, he had fully recovered. As for the power of the source, Long Chen has never had a chance to use it, so the power of the source is almost useless. Boom boom boom. This time, Long Chen rushed to attack. The keel bone was flying in the moon, and the sword energy was flying horizontally, fighting against the Linglong Gorefiend. Linglong Gorefiend's body was as hard as iron, and he was not afraid of Long Chen's slashing, but Long Chen's violent dragon blood power shook it back again and again. However, in the first 10 moves, Long Chen took the lead, and was quickly pulled back by Linglong Blood Demon. Seeing that he was about to be pressed and beaten again, Long Chen suddenly opened his left hand, and the cross-god pattern appeared, and slapped Linglong on the claws of the Gorefiend. When Long Chen shook Linglong Gorefiend's sharp claws with his bare hands, Long Zhantian suddenly became nervous. The force of Linglong Gorefiend's claws was enough to shatter half of Long Chen's body. Just when he was about to make a move, he suddenly hesitated when he saw the word 10 in Long Chen's hand, and at the moment he hesitated, boom, with a loud bang, Linglong Gorefiend was knocked back by Long Chen's palm, and the berserk force made Linglong Gorefiend's paw drenched with blood and was injured. But Long Chen took the opportunity to regain the upper hand again, and once again fought fiercely with Linglong Gorefiend. However, Linglong Gorefiend was too powerful, and within a few breaths, he returned to his previous state. How much impact! Boom boom boom. Linglong Gorefiend's storm-like attack formed again, and Long Chen was forced to flee in embarrassment. Finally, half an hour later, Linglong Gorefiend knocked him into the air and passed out. Your son is very strong. From the beginning to the end, his mood is not disturbed, and his will is as firm as a rock. I used the secret method several times to affect his mind, but failed. Linglong Gorefiend looked at the comatose Long Chen, and finally spoke. My son of Long Zhantian, how can he be weak? Long Zhantian smiled slightly, with a hint of arrogance on his face. However, isn't it too cruel for you to let him, a little heavenly saint, fight against me? Aren't you afraid that his Tao heart will collapse? Linglong Blood Demon asked. Although my son is young, the setbacks he has experienced are beyond your imagination. His Tao heart has basically taken shape, and no one can shake it, so you don't have to worry about this. As for being cruel, it is a bit cruel, but there is no way, before he sees his mother, I must pass on all the knowledge I have learned all my life to him, otherwise there will be no chance. Long Zhantian said. No chance? What do you mean? Linglong Gorefiend was taken aback, looking at Long Zhantian with lantern-like eyes. You want to understand things about the human race. Long Zhantian said with a wry smile. Linglong Gorefiend was stunned for a moment, and suddenly a flash of understanding flashed in his eyes. Are you very afraid of your wife? Yes, I'm afraid. If she sees me torturing her son like this, she will probably kill me. Long Zhantian said with a smile. The face of his wife appeared in Long Zhantian's mind. When Long Chen was born, Long Zhantian hoped that his son would become an indomitable hero, look down on the world and look down on the world of mortals. Therefore, on Long Chen's close-fitting jade pendant he engraved, Dragon travels thousands of miles, proud of the world, this is his blessing and his wish. But Long Chen's mother engraved, peace and joy, forever and ever. As a result, when these two sentences are added together, they are a bit nondescript. At that time, Long Zhantian complained a few words. Looking back now, Long Zhan realized that a woman who gave birth to life can understand the true meaning of life far better than a man. So what if he has the ability to penetrate the heavens and the earth? Even if it is famous in the 9 heavens and powerful in the world, so what? If there is a chance to do it all over again, he would rather be a mortal, spend his whole life with his wife and children, and enjoy the decades of family affection in a normal way. It's a pity that there are not so many ifs in this world. Since I have chosen this path, I can no longer turn back and must try my best to move forward. Because of her status, Long Chen's mother yearns for a plain and stable life, so if they really meet again, Long Zhantian may not have the opportunity to teach Long Chen skills, so it must be done as soon as possible. Even if it is cruel, you have to be hard-hearted. When Long Chen woke up again without saying a word, he grabbed the knife and killed Ling Long Gorfiend. He kept looking for Ling Long Gorfiend's weaknesses, and at the same time repaired his own shortcomings. Although he ended in failure every time, Long Chen never felt discouraged, let alone complained about unfairness. After each failure, when he stood up again, his strength would be stronger. In Long Chen's words, anything that can't knock me down will definitely make me stronger. All my abilities are acquired in pain, and all my problems are cultivated in comfort. When he heard Long Chen's words, Long Zhantian was relieved and heartbroken. Long Chen had endured too many things that he shouldn't have to bear at his age. Long Chen kept fighting against Ling Long Gorfiend. Although Ling Long Gorfiend was constantly increasing his strength, Long Chen persisted for longer and longer, often looking for gaps to strike, interrupting Ling Long Gorfiend's rhythm, and fighting for himself and opportunities for counterattack. The speed at which Long Chen's strength increased surprised both Long Zhantian and Ling Long Gorfiend. After each battle, Long Chen could always absorb some experience, and at the same time, he would come up with countless whimsical ideas. The key is that if he dares to think, he dares to do it. Even if he fails, it will not affect him to continue to try bravely next time. Boom! There was another explosion, and Long Chen rolled out with a knife, and flew all the way far away, spurting out a mouthful of blood. Long Chen wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, his eyes were like lightning, and his fighting spirit remained undiminished. Just as he was about to charge towards the Ling Long Gorfiend, suddenly the void trembled, and a huge monster flew over his head. Not long after the behemoth flew by, it turned back again, and then a voice came, "Two humans, one monster, what a strange combination." Chapter 57-28 Boom. A devil bird went back and forth, its huge body was like a mountain, and the Ling Long Gorfiend turned into a pitiful little one in front of it. This devil bird's chi and blood are terrifying, its devil chi is soaring to the sky, its golden claws are grabbing the ground, and it is condescending to look down on the three of Long Chen. And on the back of the devil bird, dozens of figures emerged. The first person was a middle-aged woman with a cold and arrogant face. Beside her, there are a group of young men and women. These young men and women are all at the peak of the heavenly saints, each of them has a strong breath, and the power of the dragon veins is astonishing. 2 of them are even 13 dragon veins. What shocked Long Chen was that these people had a strong atmosphere of chaos, but they didn't have the power of time. That is to say, they were all contemporary strong men, not people who were sealed in ancient times. Those disciples were dressed in fancy clothes and carried broad swords, a group of handsome men and beautiful women, but the arrogance between their brows and the eyes that looked down on all living beings made it difficult for people to have a good impression of them. However, both the woman and the devil bird were at the level of the Purple Crown God Emperor, and their aura was still above Zui Yen, which shocked Long Chen a bit. When did there become so many Purple Crown God Emperors? Boy, you have good aptitude. Are you interested in taking part in our Great Luo Sword Sex Assessment? With your strength, you can definitely enter the inner door. As for whether you can enter the core, it depends on your luck. However, your chi and blood fluctuate very much, so you should have a lot of strength. Our Great Luo Sword Sect is based on strength, so you are very suitable to come to us to develop. The cold and arrogant middle-aged woman looked Long Chen up and down and said, what was proposed was an invitation, but there was no sincerity in the invitation, it was more like a kind of charity and fulfillment. Moreover, this middle-aged woman didn't see the true strength of Long Zhantian and Ling Long Blood Demon. It is estimated that even if they are stronger than Zui Yen, they are not much stronger. Kiel Xia shouldered it on his shoulders, and Long Chen said lightly, thank you for your kindness, you have also seen it, I like to use knives, I don't like to use swords. Boy, don't be ignorant of flattery. You know that being able to worship under my Daluo sword sect is a blessing you have cultivated for several lifetimes. Seeing that Long Chen refused, a woman suddenly came out with a cold face and scolded Long Chen. Long Chen couldn't help laughing. Why don't you join? Are you going to kidnap? Long Chen's answer immediately made the group of people furious. The middle-aged woman covered her face with frost and said to the female disciple, "This idiot has never seen the world, so it's worth noting this kind of person, but if you dare to despise De Luo Jinzong, you should teach him a lesson and let him know the strength of the core disciples of De Luo Jinzong." Yes, the woman had been upset with Long Chen for a long time, and suddenly her figure flickered. She jumped off the back of the devil bird and came to Long Chen. She had a broad sword in her hand, and the strong wind howled, but she was quite powerful. Pointing the broad sword at Long Chen, she shouted in a cold voice, "Stupid bumpkin, Di Huang'an has been walking for so many days, but he hasn't seen a decent seedling. It is really unlucky to barely see someone who can catch the eye, but it is still a brain dead. I made a move today for no other reason than to let you idiots of Emperor's Heaven know that the Emperor's Heaven is no longer your Emperor's Heaven." After the woman finished speaking, those young disciples seemed to feel that what she said was particularly relieved, and applauded her one after another. "Oh, hold the grass, this breath is worse than berry. What happened to make you swell so much?" Long Chen was stunned. "This is too arrogant. Ignorant idiot, open your mouth, I won't kill you today, but your mouth is too annoying, today I will smash it." The woman's willow eyebrows stood erect, and the broad sword roared, pointing at Long Chen cut to. What shocked Long Chen was that she was a woman, and when she attacked Long Chen, she didn't even summon the dragon's veins, and didn't open the vision. Did she really think he was a soft persimmon? If it was a man, Long Chen would have slapped him long ago, but he is still not used to slapping a woman. When, at the place where the broadsword was 3 inches away from Long Chen's face, it was instantly pinched by 2 fingers. Although Long Chen hadn't learned his father's trick, with his strength, he was able to face a heavenly sage who hadn't fully erupted. It can be easily done. As soon as Long Chen made this move, the woman and all the members of De Luo Jinzong became angry, which was simply the greatest humiliation to them. The woman was furious, and she took back the broadsword, but the tip of the sword seemed to have taken root in Long Chen's hand, and it couldn't be shaken at all. Boom! Under the woman's rage, the 9 dragon veins of destiny burned, and at the same time, the vision behind her was stretched out, and all the power burst out in the billowing air. Buzz! However, even if she broke out with all her strength, Long Chen's 2 fingers only trembled slightly, but she still couldn't take back the broadsword. At that moment, the faces of the experts of the Great Luo Sword sect changed. They finally realized that this seemingly inconspicuous man turned out to be a very terrifying existence. Young people are arrogant and domineering, and they also need capital. After Long Chen finished speaking, his 2 fingers suddenly separated. The woman who was struggling to grab the sword did not expect that Long Chen would suddenly let go. Caught off guard, she retreated 6 or 7 steps in a row. Boom! He sat on the ground with his buttocks, and the huge force directly pushed the ground out of a big pit. The woman was so ashamed and humiliated, her face was distorted immediately, and she cursed, "You little bastard," today. Puff! However, before she could finish her cursing, a thunderbolt pierced directly through her head, instantly killing her. Long Chen's face was gloomy. He had tried his best to keep his hand away, and wanted the other party to retreat in spite of difficulties, but the woman turned out to be swearing at each other, and Long Chen was suddenly furious. "Anyone who dares to kill my Great Luo Sword sect, seek death." The middle-aged woman was furious, her figure flickered, and the figure disappeared. The moment she disappeared, Linglong Gorefiend suddenly opened her mouth, piercing the void like the tongue of a sharp sword. Puff! The figure of the middle-aged woman was pulled out from the void. Linglong Gorefiend's tongue had pierced her body, and the woman had a look of horror. Suddenly the woman's body shriveled rapidly, and endless energy formed a torrent, flowing along the Linglong Gorefiend's tongue and pouring into its mouth. All the energy of that woman was devoured by the Linglong Gorefiend. Its tongue trembled slightly, and the middle-aged woman instantly turned into ashes. Linglong Gorfiend devoured the woman's energy. Her eyes were full of evil. She slowly turned her head to look at the devil bird. The devil bird trembled all over, and the disciples of the Luo sword sect were even more scared out of their wits. "Senior Linglong, give me their big bird." Long Qin yelled. He was afraid that the Linglong blood demon would eat the devil bird, so he hurriedly made an appointment. As long as it wasn't shameless enough, it wouldn't pretend not to hear it. Their big bird? Where did the woman get the big bird? Linglong Gorfiend was taken aback. Long Qin. At this moment, the devil bird suddenly spread its wings and was about to escape, but as soon as it moved, Linglong Gorfiend's sword-like tongue pierced through its head in an instant. Chapter 5729. When Linglong Gorfiend looked at the devil bird was locked instantly, trembling all over and unable to move. And when Linglong Gorfiend talked to Long Qin, the lock disappeared, and the devil bird wanted to take the opportunity to escape, but was still killed with one blow. At this time, Long Qin realized that the Linglong blood demon, like his father, had hidden his feelings too deeply. "Hero, spare your life, hero, spare your life." The disciples of the great Luo sword sect were as frightened quails at this moment. They all trembled and didn't even have the courage to run. They knelt on the ground and kowtowed non-stop. "Get out." Long Qin didn't even bother to kill them, and just told them to leave. These people immediately ran away as if they were granted amnesty, for fear that Long Qin would change his mind. "Why don't you cut the weeds and get rid of the roots once and for all?" Looking at the escaped disciples, Long Zhantian smiled. "It was their fate to meet me, and it was their luck that I didn't bother to kill them." They returned to the great Luo sword sect and told them the news. "Then this is the order of the great Luo sword sect, it is right to kill them, and it is also right not to kill them, so it doesn't matter," Long Qin said with a hasty smile. After listening to Long Qin's explanation, Long Zhantian gave a thumbs up. Long Qin's answer was too exciting and profound. "Boy, this piece of meat is for you." Linglong Gorfiend threw the devil bird's body to Long Qin, with a hint of reluctance in his tone. Obviously, this piece of meat was more palatable to him than that middle-aged woman. Seeing the Linglong Gorfiend swallowing the middle-aged woman today, Long Qin finally understood why the Long family would be so furious when his father stole it. Perhaps it would be more appropriate to describe it as fear rather than anger. "Thank you," Long Qin laughed, and put the corpse directly into the chaotic space. Last time, Long Qin used the original power of Fusang ancient wood and Taiyin wood. Although there is a corpse of the sea whale family, the power it can provide is very limited. After all, the strength lies there, and the sea whale corpse of the God Emperor powerhouse was given to a man by Long Qin. Therefore, the power of the Taiyin tree and Fusang ancient tree in the chaotic space has not recovered, and the golden crow and jade rabbit have also fallen into a deep sleep. Long Qin urgently needs this corpse to wake them up. You must know that this is a terrifying purple-crowned emperor with amazing life force, and it alone is enough to restore the vitality of the chaotic space. "Father, do you know what the 13 dragon energy means?" Long Qin asked suddenly. Regarding this question, Long Qin asked Chaos Dragon Emperor and Qinkuan Cauldron, but both of them chose to remain silent. There are 2 points, one of which means the rank of the Kung Fu. The Kung Fu that can condense the dragon energy of the 13 heavenly veins is an extremely ancient Kung Fu. It is said that it is related to the original Jiuli Xianwen. Long Zhantian said, "Original Jiuli Xianwen?" Long Qin was startled. Long Zhantian nodded and said, "The original Jiuli Xianwen contains the greatest secret of the 9 heavens and 10 earths, but unfortunately, there are too many gaps in the history of the 9 heavens and 10 earths, so that people today cannot interpret the Jiuli immortals at all. It seems that there is an invisible big hand trying to erase part of history. I have also comprehended some original Jiuli Xianwen, but because of the wrong method, I cannot pry into its mysteries." "What about the other point?" Long Qin asked. "Also," Long Zhantian pondered for a while and said, "Another point, I only have some eyebrows, but I can't say it, so as not to mislead you, I will tell you when I figure it out." Long Qin nodded. Although his father didn't say anything, at least he wasn't as silent as Chaos Dragon Emperor and Chen Kuanding. By the way, Dad, my child has comprehended a lot of original Jiuli immortal texts in the Tianmai Profound Realm and rubbed them down. Would you like to take a look? Long Chen said suddenly. You rubbed the original Jiuli Xianwen? Long Zhantian was taken aback. Long Chen directly summoned the 3,000 stars. When Long Zhantian saw these Jiuli Xianwen, he couldn't help being stunned. After a long while, he said, "Put away the talisman quickly, you'd better keep this matter a secret, the less people know about it, the better." Long Chen immediately showed embarrassment. After Long Zhantian asked, he found out that Long Chen had shared these talismans with the disciples of the Dragon Clan and Fengshen High Pavilion. The Dragon Clan is definitely fine, but whether the disciples of Fengshen Hage can keep this secret is hard to say. Long Zhantian smiled slightly. "Don't worry, Senior Feng Xinyue will definitely help you deal with it." Long Chen was right when he thought about it. Feng Xinyue was as intelligent as the sea, and she did everything without revealing anything. She would definitely learn about everything that happened in Tainmeixiuan territory through Tang Weiner, and would naturally help him keep it secret. "Chainer, with Linglong's help, your dragon vein power has been completely condensed. Next, Dad will teach you the real technique," Long Zhantian said. It turned out that Long Zhantian saw that Long Chen's aura was a bit vain and his foundation was not solid enough, so he asked Linglong Gorfiend to temper him. Long Chen has strong perseverance and high comprehension, much earlier than Long Zhantian expected. Now it's time to teach him his true skills. One way of art is always changing and never departing from its origin. It is nothing more than the difference between yin and yang, the difference between hardness and softness, the change between inside and outside, and the nature of gathering and dispersing. Long Zhantian began to explain the general outline of the technique to Long Chen. Long Zhantian is a genius of the sky. When he was in the Tianwu continent, the countless combat skills on his body were all realized by himself. Later, when he was imprisoned by the Long family, he never stopped deduction and comprehension. This was the only thing he could do in the endless pain. Long Chen was already strong enough, and his comprehension was astonishing. Long Zhanshan's many thoughts and opinions made Long Chen seem to have opened the door to a new world and saw an unprecedented vast space. Long Zhantian handed over to Long Chen one by one his unique methods of transporting power and coagulation skills. However, some methods were too profound, and even with Long Chen's comprehension, he couldn't understand them for a while. However, Long Zhantian didn't care about these things, and asked him to memorize some rules by rote. As for those changes, he just taught them one by one, and then stopped teaching them repeatedly. After Long Chen understood the essence of the profound truth, Long Zhantian asked Long Chen to condense his own exclusive spells according to his own understanding and habits. After the teaching was completed, Long Chen directly summoned the 7 treasure glazed glass tree and the 3,000 stars. Long Chen digested the skills his father taught, while Long Zhantian comprehended the 3,000 talismans. In order to prevent being discovered, Linglong Gorfiend directly arranged a natal barrier to hide everything. One day, 2 days until the 3rd day, Long Zhantian and Long Chen opened their eyes at the same time, and they looked at each other and smiled. Obviously, they both gained a lot. "Chainer, based on these original runes of Jiuli, I have researched a set of formations, maybe. It can help you quickly condense the stars and dragon veins," Long Zhantian said. "Real?" When he heard Long Zhanshan's words, Long Chen's face was full of ecstasy. Chapter 57:30 Boom. Hundreds of millions of stars twinkle above the earth. They are star runes arranged in strange shapes, forming a strange formation. Long Chen sat in the big formation, as if sitting in 2 huge mirrors. The starry sky was extending infinitely, endlessly. Star dragon veins were flying behind Long Chen, and the endless starlight between heaven and earth was gathering towards him. In just 3 days, Long Chen had condensed 13 star dragon veins. Behind Long Chen, the 8-color divine ring circulates, connecting the 2 starry skies of heaven and earth, sending endless star power into the 13 star dragon veins. When the 13-star dragon veins were condensed, the 13-star dragon veins were still greedily absorbing the power of heaven and earth. The star dragon veins were vague at first, but as they grew, the amount of star power no longer increased, but something happened. Qualitative transformation. The body becomes clearer and clearer. The dragon tail, dragon claws, dragon horns and other parts began to show a unique luster. They were no longer illusory, but showed entities. What a powerful breath! Even Linglong Gorfiend, who was watching from the side, couldn't help exclaiming, "What kind of technique is your son practicing? How can the power of dragon veins be so strong?" "What technique?" Long Zanshan's face was a little strange. "What's that expression on your face?" Linglong Gorfiend said, a little dissatisfied, thinking that Long Zhantian was laughing at its ignorance. "You really don't know?" Long Zhantian asked. "Bullshit, if I knew, would I still need to ask you? I have been trapped by your Long family for so many years, how could I know?" Linglong Gorfiend said angrily. "Don't you know how your ancestors died in your inheritance memory?" Long Zhantian asked. "Our ancestor died in a man named Lord of 9 Stars. Wait a minute, you mean, holding grass?" Linglong Gorfiend shouted. "Could it be that your son's exercises came from that guy?" "That's right," Long Zhantian said. Linglong Gorfiend gritted her teeth and said, "Emotions are the heirs of my enemy. If you ask me to be your son's training partner again, do you believe that I will kill him?" Long Zhantian smiled slightly, but didn't reply. He didn't seem to take Linglong's threat to heart. "I'm so mad. One is the offspring of the enemy who imprisoned me, and the other is the disciple of the enemy who killed my ancestors. Both of you, father and son, are not good people." Linglong Gorfiend was so angry that she was about to explode. "It's okay, just get used to it." Long Zhantian comforted him. "Good sister, if you were me, would you get used to it? Aren't you bullying? Besides, is there anyone who bullies like that?" Linglong Gorfiend roared. No, you are not human," Long Zhantian corrected. "You." Linglong Gorfiend roared angrily. His 4 claws tore through the void and disappeared instantly. Facing Linglong Gorfiend's departure, Long Zhantian didn't care at all. His eyes were always fixed on Long Chen in the formation. He used the runes on the Jili God tablet to create a formation for Long Chen to induce the power of the stars. Although there are still many flaws, the power of the stars can quickly help Long Chen condense the power of the dragon veins. Seeing the starlight all over Long Chen, his face gradually became serious, and countless runes were flying in his mind, and he never stopped helping Long Chen perform this exercise. Long Zhantian was originally a genius of the sky, and his talent was comparable to that of a great emperor. During his imprisonment for more than 20 years, his body could not be used, and he devoted himself even more to performing arithmetic. Over the past 20 years, he has calculated endless magical powers. When he broke free from the shackles, he began to verify his calculations. The results proved that more than 90% of his calculations were correct. When meeting Long Chen this time, Long Chen naturally wouldn't hide anything from his own father, and truthfully told his father all the exercises he practiced. As for the Dragon God Body refining technique, Long Zhantian was amazed at its magnificence. This is a perfect divine technique. Unfortunately, this is a unique divine technique of the Dragon Clan. When Long Chen practiced it, there would be rejection. Long Zhantian also specially instructed Long Chen to work on certain aspects to minimize the phenomenon of rejection as much as possible, so as to maximize the power of dragon blood. But when Long Zhantian went to study the 9-star hegemony body art, he was in trouble. He was shocked to find that this 9-star hegemon body art is a technique full of loopholes, endless loopholes, and even self-contradictory. The control and operation methods of many of these forces are whimsical and completely inconsistent with the laws of the operation of the Tao of Heaven. In such a state, it is impossible to achieve the unity of man and nature. However, after careful deduction, he found that at the end of the mistake, there seemed to be another turning point. The 9-star hegemon body art was too mysterious and complicated to be calculated or deduced. Unless he can practice the 9-star hegemony body Ju, he will not be able to understand the mystery of it at all. Practice is not something that the authorities will be confused by, but sometimes it will be the opposite. Even with Long Zhanshan's arrogance, he is full of awe for the 9-star hegemony body art. The person who can create this technique has unimaginable wisdom, and he is obviously far behind. However, after researching, although he only understands some superficial aspects, he can still help Long Chen a little. Boom! Suddenly there was a loud noise, the starry sky trembled, and then a vast force of stars struck, and the strong wind blew Long Zhanshan's long hair flying, interrupting his thoughts. Long Zhantian looked intently, and saw that among the 13 dragon veins behind Long Chen, one of the dragon veins had glowing scales all over his body, and stars twinkled in his eyes, as if he had been endowed with life. In its vast coercion, there was a trace of smart. Boom, boom, boom. The continuous explosions sounded like the finishing touch, and the stars and dragon veins behind Long Chen flew one after another. Soon, the 13-star dragon seemed to be endowed with life and soul, and the vast pressure radiated 9 heavens and 10 places. At this time, Long Chen's The Power of the Stars has also advanced to Dzogchen. When the power of the stars was perfect and Long Chen opened his eyes, it seemed as if a universe was flowing in the eyes. At that moment, the starry sky around Long Chen suddenly lit up. When the starlight in Long Chen's eyes disappeared, the stars in the sky and the earth followed. Disappeared. Not bad, send and receive freely, and the power of the stars has also been perfected, so the next step is the supreme blood. Long Zhantian said, "Can the supreme blood also condense the dragon's veins?" Long Chen couldn't help shouting excitedly. "This is what you said, if you can't, how can your father and I advance to the rank of God Emperor?" Long Zhantian laughed. After finishing speaking, Long Zhantian passed on a set of mental techniques to Long Chen. This set of exercises was created by Long Zhantian with more than 20 years of painstaking efforts, which condensed his life's efforts. Originally, he planned to pass this set of exercises to Long Chen and give him the main method to practice, but later he discovered that the Dragon God Body refining technique is no worse than his skills, and the 9-star hegemony body art is even more amazing. Simply give this mentality to Long Chen as an auxiliary mentality. Come on, start to condense the supreme dragon veins, and Dad will protect you. After the teaching was completed, Long Chen could see through it at a glance, and Long Zhantian directly let Long Chen condense the dragon veins. Where is Senior Linglong? Long Chen suddenly discovered that the Linglong blood demon who was protecting them had disappeared. Eating a bad stomach, I went to the latrine. Long Zhantian replied casually. Long Chen. Chapter 5732. A few days later, the Linglong Gorfiend stepped through the void, and the flames soared into the sky, carrying Long Zhantian, father and son, and appeared in a stretch of high mountains. The high mountains are like swords, straight into the sky, the boulders are like forests, white clouds are floating around their waists, the fairy spirit is dense, the divine light is shining, there are unknown fairy birds, soaring among the white clouds, and the crisp calls echo in the valleys. It is a good place, Xanadu, a fairyland on earth. Unexpectedly, the purple blood lineage is hidden here. Long Chen said, "When I came here it wasn't like this. Now the small world they live in has emerged, and the entrance to the small world has disappeared." Looking at the scene in front of him, Long Zhantian was slightly excited. The place where the purple blood lineage is located is very hidden. Although the hunters were the first to confirm the approximate location of the small world, they were still unable to find the entrance. Long Zhantian found this place based on the clues of the Life Hunting clan. At that time, the Life Hunting clan searched the area like a carpet, repeated several times, but couldn't find the entrance. And Long Zhantian shot directly, killing all the powerhouses of the hunting clan in this area, deliberately made a lot of noise, and then hid. Long Zhantian stayed there all the time, and waited for a full month before the spatial fluctuations came. The people of the purple blood lineage finally appeared, and Long Zhantian finally confirmed the location of the entrance. However, Long Zhantian did not contact them directly, but went back to find Long Chen. "Chainer, when I came here before, I saw my father-in-law. Long Zhantian said. Grandpa? What did he tell you? Long Chen asked hurriedly. He knew that Luo Zichuan had been holding back his anger because of his mother's waywardness, and if the two of them met, Grandpa might not give him a good face. Long Zhantian shook his head and said, I didn't dare to show up. It seems that your grandfather is not doing well, and the cause seems to be because of me. Long Zhantian sighed, and finally told Long Chen why he didn't have contact with people from Zixue that day. At that time, Long Zhantian was hiding in the dark, and he saw an old man who was his father-in-law Luo Zichuan. When Long Chen and Long Zhantian met, he described Luo Zichuan's appearance to him. Even if Long Chen didn't mention it, Long Zhantian could recognize him from the blood and soul fluctuations on his body. After all, he is his wife. The father's qi and blood fluctuations are very similar to those of his wife. What's a bad way? Long Chen couldn't help but turn gloomy when he heard this. Long Zhantian looked at Long Chen and said, The purpose of our father and son's trip is to reunite the family. You have to restrain your temper, so as not to embarrass your mother. Not everything in this world can be resolved by force. I tell you this to prepare you mentally. There will definitely be many obstacles to our family reunion. And the identity of father is very embarrassing. Everything can only depend on you, so you understand. As soon as Long Chen heard it, he understood that all big families are powers that have been passed down for a long time, and they are basically a virtue. When Long Zhantian said this, he immediately knew it. Father, don't worry, I will take it easy. Long Chen said. Long Zhantian nodded. Okay, use the method I taught you to seal up other powers and activate the power of purple blood. Long Chen nodded, and after following Long Zhantian's method, all other fluctuations disappeared, leaving only a faint purple aura around him. The secret technique that Long Zhantian taught Long Chen is to control, the ultimate control, and controlling breath is only an entry-level difficulty. Long Chen can do it as easily as breathing. Although before, Long Chen could easily hide it, but control and hiding are different. Long Zhantian asked Long Chen to do it, and he could control the conversion of breath quantity and quality as he wanted. If you just simply hide the breath, it is difficult to fool the real masters, but if you know how to change the quality and quantity of the breath, you can fool countless strong people. Of course, cheating is not the purpose. It is just a test of whether the method of control is passing. If the disguise can be seen through, it must be unqualified. Stop coming! Suddenly there was a sound of cold shouting in front, and dozens of figures flew out from the mountains, but when they saw Lingling Gorefiend, their expressions changed drastically. These people are all young disciples, and they are all existences at the level of heavenly saints. They have condensed 6 natal dragon veins, and their strength is quite impressive. But when they felt the coercion of Linglong Gorefiend's terrifying purple crown, their faces changed immediately, and one of them directly crushed the jade talisman in his hand. Among the mountains, the barrier rose rapidly, and in the midst of the vast divine power rising, more than a dozen figures flew out. One of them was a powerful purple-crowned emperor with astonishing coercion. When he saw the purple crown god emperor, Long Chen's heart trembled. He really deserved to be from the purple blood lineage. This person put 10 times more pressure on Long Chen than Zui Yan. The man was also taken aback when he saw Long Zhantian, Long Chen, and Linglong Gorefiend. He sensed the strength of Long Zhantian. When he saw Long Chen, he was stunned. What happened to this person? There will be purple blood fluctuations, and the power of the purple blood is more pure than most of the powerhouses of the purple blood family. And that man actually felt the breath of purple blood on Long Zhantian's body, which made him feel very strange. Long Zhantian clasped his fist slightly and said, "All warriors of the Zixue clan, first of all, let me introduce myself. I am Long Zhantian, and Zhuijing is from the Zixue clan. This is Long Chen the dog." Long Chen has seen the senior. Long Chen bowed to the strong purple-crowned emperor. The purple-crowned emperor heard Long Zhantian's intention to sign up, and saw that the blood flowing in Long Chen's body was indeed purple blood, so he immediately let go of his guard. "I am the elder of the guard of the purple blood lineage. My name is Huang Cheng. If the two of you are here to find relatives and trace the origin, you can't decide this matter yourself. You have to report it to the patriarch. If you don't mind, you can do it at will. I will enter the clan to discuss. Although Huang Chang let go of part of his guard, there was still a hint of vigilance in the depths of his eyes. After all, Long Zhantian and Ling Long Gorfiend put him under great pressure, but if they entered the formation it would be a different matter, and it was also a kind of temptation for him. Long Zhantian smiled slightly and said, "I'm sorry." As they were talking, Long Zhantian and Long Chen jumped off Ling Long Gorfiend's body. This action of the two won the favor of these people. Sorry, too arrogant. After Long Zhantian jumped off Ling Long Gorfiend, he whispered a few words to Ling Long Gorfiend. Ling Long Gorfiend nodded and disappeared in a flash. Seeing that Long Zhantian sent away Ling Long Gorfiend, and only father and son followed the crowd, Huang Chang couldn't help but secretly nodded. The Purple Blood clan doesn't like contact with other races, especially the Demon clan, but because Long Zhantian is too powerful, it's inconvenient for him to refuse the Ling Long Blood Demon. What Long Zhantian did made people feel very comfortable, and everyone couldn't help but become a little less wary of the two of them. Little friend, why don't you have dragon pulse fluctuations on your body? An old man looked at Long Chen and asked casually. It seemed like a random question, but it was a kind of temptation. Long Chen smiled slightly and said, as a disciple of the Zixue lineage, how could he condense the Tianmai dragon qi casually? If the condensed Tianmai dragon qi is neither fish nor fowl, wouldn't it make other clans laugh at him? When Long Chen said this, everyone couldn't help laughing. This little guy is quite interesting. At the same time, they also understood that the boy of feelings wanted to use the treasure land of the Purple Blood lineage to gather the dragon veins, so they came to look for relatives. When everyone came to the enchantment, the gate of the enchantment opened. When Long Chen entered the gate, purple flames rose from Long Chen's body, causing everyone to exclaim. Chapter 5733, Purple Blood Burns the Sky, automatically activated. Oh my god, this is... When they saw the blazing flames on Long Chen's body, Huang Chang and the others were shocked. And Long Chen was also taken aback. He didn't know what happened, and when he entered the enchantment, his purple blood power burned uncontrollably. Long Chen formed seals with his hands and forcibly suppressed the flames around him. Senior, what's the situation? Long Chen couldn't help but ask. It turns out that this enchantment gate is blessed by the Purple Blood family's secret method, which can sense the evil thoughts in people's hearts. If someone has malicious intentions towards the Purple Blood family, the enchantment will sound an alarm. This is also a test. And above this enchantment, there is the supreme law of the Purple Blood clan, and this law can also be used to test the potential of the Purple Blood clan disciples. The cost of driving this kind of law rune is astonishing, and the Purple Blood will only activate it at a certain time every year. But today, because a disciple mistakenly regarded Long Zhantian as an enemy, he opened the barrier, inspired by the power of the barrier, and the test rune was also activated. Under this test rune, the Purple Blood clan judges the strength of the bloodline based on the disciple's purple blood fluctuations. As for Long Chen's bloodline burning, there is an exclusive term in the Purple Blood lineage, called Zixue Burning Sky. The Zixue Burning Sky is also divided into levels. As long as the flame is burned, even if the Zixue Burning Sky is over a foot, it is already very rare, and the flame over a foot is an elite among the elite. And the flame that Long Chen erupted just now swallowed up the space with a radius of 100 miles in an instant. If Long Chen hadn't suppressed it in time, it would still be skyrocketing. Seeing this scene, Huang Chang and the others were stunned. When they looked at Long Chen again, their eyes were different. They never expected that a disciple who came to recognize his relatives from the outside world turned out to be a peerless genius with amazing talent. It was like a big pie fell from the sky to the Purple Blood clan. Hurry up and report to the patriarch, Brother Zhantian, please follow me. Huang Chang became extremely polite at this time. He directly called Long Zhantian brother and stretched out his hand to clear the way for the two. His voice was full of excitement. Huang Chang originally wanted to take them to the outer courtyard, but now he led them directly into the teleportation array, and after a while of teleportation, they went directly to a square. Entering the square, Long Chen saw tens of thousands of young disciples, sitting cross-legged on the square, listening to a woman on the high platform with a serious face. Judging from their posture, they should be teaching. What surprised Long Chen was that these tens of thousands of young men and women were all 13-veined heavenly saints. Long Chen couldn't believe his eyes. They were all 13-veined heavenly saints. Isn't this crazy? However, what surprised Long Chen was that although they were all 13-veined heavenly saints, not all of them were so powerful, such as Li Changjing and Fan Tianda level of powerhouses. Is it true that the 13 meridians are not as rare as he imagined, as the old man said? Is it really because of the exercises? Long Chen couldn't help but muttered in his heart. At the beginning, Long Chen was really scared. If they were all at the level of Li Changjing and Fan Tianda, it would be too scary. When Long Chen appeared, the mentor and many disciples couldn't help but look at him. Obviously, they all knew Huang Chang, but they didn't know Long Chen and his father. In particular, the two of them were not wearing the clothes of the purple blood lineage, and they did not wear the status medal, which was very eye-catching. Concentrate on lectures. Suddenly the female tutor shouted sharply, and Long Chen was startled by her drinking. The nameplate that the female tutor was wearing was the same as Huang Chang's, and probably the same elder as him. She glanced at all the disciples like lightning and said angrily, "As an elite disciple of the purple blood lineage, shouldering the mission of revitalizing the purple blood clan, how can you have distractions at the slightest sign of trouble? This shows that you didn't listen carefully to what I just said. As the best of your generation, you can't even concentrate. You guys are so disappointing. Learning without thinking will lead to nothing, thinking without learning will lead to peril, entering the Tao without realizing the Tao without cultivating the Tao, will be nothing in the end." The female instructor's words were sharp, her eyes were sharp, and she was not a character to be provoked at first glance. Long Chen looked at those disciples and couldn't help feeling a little sympathetic to them. This kind of instructor is very old-fashioned, and the explanation of practice is also taught according to the book, which is boring and makes people feel tormented. Usually, in this state, everyone expects her to finish the lecture early, and the state of life is like a year. Who wants to listen carefully? After being scolded by the female tutor, all the disciples turned their faces in a hurry, as if they were listening carefully, but they still looked at Long Chen and his party from the corner of the eye, secretly guessing what the two of them were doing. After crossing the square, Huang Chang explained with a smile, "Teacher Quan, she is one of the strictest mentors in our clan. This is because in our purple blood lineage, there are some profound magical powers that disciples are not allowed to read privately and can only be passed on by word of mouth, so this happens." At this time, Huang Chang was much more cordial than before, and this, completely regarded Long Chen and his son as his own. While speaking, a large hall appeared in front of him. On both sides of the hall, there were dozens of guards lined up. It seemed that they had been waiting for a long time. When Huang Chang arrived, they all bowed to him. The gate of the palace opened, and a terrifying coercion of the imperial way rushed straight towards Long Chen. Long Chen was directly rushed into the air by the coercion. He instinctively wanted to use his strength to resist, but was pulled back by Long Zhantian. Only then did Long Chen remember that his father had told him that only the power of purple blood was allowed to be used here at any time. He almost used the power of stars just now. After the gang wind howled, the space calmed down, and Long Chen saw that dozens of figures were already standing in the hall. What shocked Long Chen was that all of those dozens of figures were the Purple Crown God Emperor. There were 60 or 70 of them. This battle was amazing. When Long Chen appeared, they looked at Long Chen coldly without saying a word. Their sharp eyes were like sharp swords, as if they wanted to see Long Chen through. Being watched by so many people, Long Chen couldn't help frowning, feeling a little upset. "What do you mean, this is to give our father and son a blow? Son, come in and let the old man see you." At this moment, an old voice came from the hall. The voice was very soft, and it was very comfortable to listen to. Even just hearing the voice, one could feel that the owner of the voice was a respected elder. As the voice emerged, The God Emperor powerhouses surrounding the door all took a step back and gave way. Long Zhantian and Long Chen walked forward slowly from the crowd, facing the cold stares of these people. Long Chen also responded coldly. Is the God Emperor amazing? At this distance, none of you can avoid it. Long Chen snorted coldly in his heart. He didn't expect that entering the Purple Blood clan would start with such a situation, which was somewhat different from what he had expected. When passing through the crowd, Long Chen saw that on the throne directly in front of the hall, an old man with white hair and childlike face was holding a crutch and looking at him benevolently. When Long Chen approached, the old man smiled and nodded the head, said, "Good, very good." Seeing the old man nodding, suddenly a cold voice came, "Master Patriarch, this son is arrogant and rude, he looks hideous, I'm afraid he may not be a good person." Chapter 57:34. Hearing that voice, Long Chen suddenly became furious. "I am a beautiful man of my generation, handsome and unrestrained, with so many beautiful confidants who are all over the world. You actually say that I am ugly?" Long Chen looked at the person who spoke. He was a middle-aged man with fair skin, long and narrow eyes, and cold eyes. This person has a white and beardless face, and looks like a man and a woman, giving people a feeling that the city is very deep and very difficult to mess with. Long Chen was even angrier when he saw the man's appearance. This guy was 9 points similar to Ingho in Fengming Empire, and his feminine demeanor was exactly the same. Long Chen was about to retort, but was pulled by Long Zhantian, meaning to let Long Chen bear it. Remembering their purpose of coming, Long Chen thought of his mother, and forcibly held back his breath. "Oh, I see that this child is smart, with a dignified upright spirit, but he doesn't look like a treacherous person?" The Patriarch looked at Long Chen again, and said to the man. The Patriarch seems to be amiable to everyone, with a kind smile on his face all the time, as if he will never get angry. The fair-skinned middle-aged man said, "Master Patriarch, people should not be judged by appearances." When the two of them came in, their murderous aura leaked out. "I'm afraid they are not good people." When Long Chen heard it, he almost died of anger. "Damn it, you said just now that I have a hideous face, and now you say that people should not be judged by their appearance. You are the only one to say this. Whether I am a good person or a bad person, you are the only one. People have the final say?" Long Chen wanted to choke him a few words, but he hadn't heard from his mother yet, so Long Chen could only endure it. Yes, Long Chen had already secretly recorded this guy in his notebook. "Forget it, let's not talk about it, I will remember this hatred for you first. I didn't invite you to provoke you, why do you want to target me like this?" The fair-skinned middle-aged man continued, "Isn't it a little inappropriate for these two people to be brought here without knowing their identities? Elder Huang Chang, are you a little too reckless? You know, we are discussing the important matter of convicting Luo Zichuan." "What?" When that person mentioned Luo Zichuan, especially when Long Chen and Long Zhantian heard Luo Zichuan's name, their expressions suddenly changed. "Do you know Luo Zichuan?" The reaction of Long Chen and Long Zhantian surprised everyone. "Call," with a wave of Long Chen's hand, a figure appeared in the void, exactly the appearance of Luo Zichuan in Long Chen's memory. And when Long Chen condensed the appearance of Luo Zichuan with the power of purple blood, all the experts present were shocked. When he saw the shocked appearance of these people, Long Chen immediately understood that the Luo Zichuan they were talking about was his grandfather, the original Zichuan immortal king. "What did you say, who was convicted?" Long Chen gritted his teeth and looked at the fair-skinned middle-aged man, the murderous intent in his eyes almost condensed into substance. Luo Zichuan was his grandfather and one of the people he respected the most. This guy actually said he would convict him, and Long Chen almost ran away on the spot. Long Zhantian also had an angry look on his face. He learned from Long Chen that in order to rescue the ancestors, Luo Zichuan desperately entered the cracks in the space. He paid so much for the Zixue clan, and now the Zixue clan wants to punish him. Sin, even with his composure, couldn't help but rise up in anger. "Who is he to you?" Seeing Long Chen gnashing his teeth, the fair-skinned middle-aged man narrowed his eyes and said with a sinister expression, "He is my grandfather." Long Chen roared angrily. Long Chen's roar resounded throughout the hall, and Long Chen's voice carried a cold, killing intent. He knows how Grandpa is. How can he not be angry that such an upright and intelligent person who is willing to devote himself to death for the Purple Blood Clan is going to be judged by a group of people? However, when Long Chen said these words, the eyes of many people looking at them changed, from the previous indifference to surprise. "Son, are you from our Luo family?" A burly old man came to Long Chen, a little excitedly. At this time, more than a dozen strong men gathered around, and Long Zhantian realized that there was a small word, Luo, embroidered on the sleeves of these men. Looking at other people, some people embroidered with the word yellow and Quan words. Long Zhantian thought of Huang Chang and Quan Shi, who was lecturing in the square, and there were different branch factions within the purple blood lineage. At this time, Long Chen also saw it. The two looked at each other, and suddenly they both understood. At that moment, Long Chen's face was gloomy and ugly. Unexpectedly, the inside of Zixue was so unbearable. Master Patriarch, everyone didn't argue about Luo Zichuan's matter in the end, so it's better to put it aside for the time being. My Purple Blood Clan welcomes new members, and Huang Chang said that he inspired the purple blood burning sky, and the scope is huge. Why not let him take a test first to see how pure his blood is? The old man of the Naluo family suggested. I disagree. The fair-skinned middle-aged man said coldly. Na Luo Zichuan missed the opportunity of the war, and even committed the crime below, and seriously injured the two elders, Bai Feng and Bai Yu. He deserves death and cannot be tolerated. Today, a result must be given. Only then did Long Chen notice that there was a small word, Bai, drawn on the sleeves of this fair-skinned man. No wonder he kept saying that he wanted to punish Luo Zichuan. Obviously, it was you two elders who did not support according to the combat deployment, resulting in the tragic death of thousands of soldiers. Zichuan was furious, and only then did it. If so, those thousands of soldiers are Luo Zichuan's subordinates, and it is understandable for him to avenge his subordinates. The old man of the Luo family sneered. Okay. At this time, the old patriarch finally spoke. He waved his hands and said, after talking about it, I went back and forth again, and there will be no results if this continues. You each hold your own words and say you are right, but you can't provide evidence that the other party is lying. Let's put this matter aside for a while and then talk about it. Master Patriarch. The man from the Bai family felt unwilling and hurried to speak. However, the patriarch waved his hand and said, nowadays, the world is undergoing tremendous changes and the eternity is recovering. Our current task is to quickly clean up the mess in our hands and then look for other lost clansmen, instead of chattering about trivial matters here. The old patriarch looked at the old man of the Luo family and said, Inchen, this is a child from your Luo family, you can take him to the test. Although he is a child who was left behind, the Purple Blood Clan has the treatment, so don't miss him. However, everything must be done according to the rules. Don't follow the truth. It's not good to let people point behind your back. Lord Patriarch, don't worry, I will handle it properly, and I will never give those despicable people a chance to babble. Luo Inchen said, and while speaking, he took a special look at the middle-aged man from the Bai family. The villain direction is very obvious. Son, let's go. As Luo Inchen spoke, she took Long Chen's hand and walked out of the hall with a group of strong Luo family members. Chapter 5736. Following the appearance of that voice, a large group of disciples in fine attire came over. All of them were heavenly sages of the 13 meridians, each with surging purple blood power, giving people great pressure. When they came, those disciples of the Luo family seemed to be poured with cold water in an instant, and the fire of enthusiasm before was extinguished in an instant, and they stood there tremblingly one by one. Long Chen saw that there were more than 100 of these people, and they were part of the group that had attended classes in the square before. The person who spoke was a tall, thin man with big eyeballs, like goldfish, protruding a little, and a long chin, like a shovel. He looks ugly, but he is arrogant. After seeing Long Chen, he even taunted him bluntly. Originally hearing this, Long Chen was a little upset, But seeing his appearance, forget it, brother forgive you, who would care about this with a mentally retarded? Sheng Hui, don't talk nonsense, this is a descendant of Elder Zichuan, and you will be your brother in the future, please let me control your stinking mouth. An elder of the Luo family stood up and said coldly to the man. Obviously, this guy named Sheng Hui is notorious among the disciples of the Luo family for his bad mouth and dislike. If it wasn't because of his amazing talent and unlimited potential, he would have been spanked 8 times a day for his bad mouth. It turned out to be from that lineage. No wonder this group of wastes are so excited. The feeling is that fellow villagers see fellow villagers, and their eyes are tearful. I, Sheng Hui, do not have such brothers. After all, my brothers will not waste food. The man named Sheng Hui curled his lips and said, as one of the top talents of the Luo family, he is used to being arrogant. The most important thing is that the Zixue family has fierce competition. If he changes his surname and goes to the enemy camp, then the Luo family will lose a top talent. After all, it is not uncommon for Zixue to change his surname, so this guy has nothing to fear, and the elders of the Luo family have nothing to do with him. Seeing Sheng Hui humiliating Long Chen and others, the disciples of the Luo family who came with him all laughed. And hearing the words, eat dry rice, the disciples of the Luo family around Long Chen all looked very ugly, but no one refuted. Seeing this, Luo Yingchen yelled sharply, shut up, Long Chen is. Sheng Hui directly interrupted Luo Yingchen's words, forget it, Grandpangan, I'm not interested in hearing his name. They are eating and waiting to die in the Zixue clan, and they are consuming the resources of the entire Luo family. I'm fine. But eating dry rice should also look like eating dry rice. Is it too much to celebrate so blatantly? All beggars know that after being given food, they have to hide in a corner to eat. How can they yell and drink in front of someone's door? Luo Yingchen was furious. This kid was so arrogant that he, the head of the Luo family, didn't even look down on him. When he rebelled at will, he opened his big hands suddenly. He wanted to teach this kid what he said today, even if it was if you want him to get out, just let him get out, or you will be mad at him sooner or later. However, before he could make a move, Long Chen said, forget it, it's just a child, don't be like him. As soon as Long Chen said these words, Sheng Hui's face suddenly changed. Long Chen's tone was too arrogant. Your face looks great, Long Chen said to Sheng Hui immediately after talking to Luo Yingchen. Sheng Hui obviously didn't know the meaning of Long Chen's words. He thought he was flattering himself, and sneered, it's useless to flatter. It's still the same sentence. If you have a leisurely meal, just stay away from it and don't talk about it. Have you noticed that your face is as big as my hand? Long Chen stretched out a hand while speaking. Long Zhantian sighed secretly. He didn't persuade Long Chen, he was his son after all. He couldn't always let Long Chen be wronged. Sheng Hui, your mouth is too stinky. Did you find another place where no one is around, and secretly eat shit? At this moment, a burly figure with broad shoulders and a thick back like an iron tower appeared, and that burly man also led a group of people over. When the burly man appeared, a hint of fear appeared in Sheng Hui's eyes, but he still insisted, I teach some guys who have nothing to do with food, what does it have to do with you, Yanfeng? Do you want me to meddle in your own business? Eating dry food? Your Luo Shenghui family, from your ancestors to your generation, is there no generation that eats dry food? They are all peerless geniuses? If anyone who eats dry food deserves to die, how about you, Luo Shenghui? Eating too much shit, even your mind is filled with shit? The burly man named Yanfeng put his hands on his chest and said with a sneer. You. Luo Shenghui was furious. Papa. There was a burst of applause, and it was Long Chen who clapped his hands. Long Chen applauded and gestured his thumbs. Wonderful. I have to say that Luo Yanfeng's remarks are really exciting, and what he said is also true. Any family has been passed down through countless generations to this day. Many families have passed down many generations before a genius will appear, and after a few generations, a genius may become a mediocre person with unpredictable ups and downs. No one can guarantee that the next generation will be better than this generation, but at the same time, No one can say that the next generation will not be as good as this generation. Luo Yanfeng's situation is very big, to put it bluntly, so what if they eat dry food? Will it be possible to guarantee that no peerless genius will appear among their descendants? Brother, don't be afraid. When you come to Luo's house, it's like going home. As for some people, you can completely treat it as farting. Luo Yanfeng walked up to Long Chen and patted him with his hands. Long Chen's shoulder said. But after he said that, his eyes turned to Luo Xinghui. Luo Xinghui was so angry that he gritted his teeth, but he didn't dare to attack, because this Luo Yanfeng was the #1 master of the younger generation of the Luo family, and even the leader. Although he is also one of the top talents, but that is only one of them, he cannot shake Luo Yanfeng's position. At this moment, Luo Yanfeng was assuming that he wanted to protect Longchen. He could only hold back his breath for the time being, snorted coldly, and then led the people away. Seeing Luo Yanfeng coming, Luo Yingchen couldn't help but shook his head and said, "This guy is going too far." Luo Yanfeng curled his lips and said, "Aren't you used to it? I've wanted to deal with him a long time ago. The Luo family doesn't have many with him, and there aren't many without him." Obviously, Luo Yanfeng has long disliked him, but Luo Yingchen has always considered the overall situation, thinking that this guy is still a child, and it's normal for him to be wayward. It's just that I didn't expect that this guy was so self-willed that he started to swell, and even the older generation of powerhouses like them were ignored. Yanfeng, you came at the right time. You can take Longchen to do the test. Remember, everything should be done according to the standard, don't let the truth be told. Luo Yingchen said, "Okay, leave this matter to me, Brother Longchen, let's go." Luo Yanfeng enthusiastically put his arms around Longchen's shoulders and led Longchen away surrounded by a group of young disciples. Zhan Tian, with Yanfeng here, you don't have to worry about Longchen. Seeing Long Zanshan's worried expression, an elder comforted him with a smile. Am I worried about Longchen? I'm worried about the disciples of your Purple Blood clan. Long Zhantian let out a sigh in his heart. Chapter 5738. The road was not wide, but it was also narrow. Two groups of people passed at the same time, very easily, but the people on the opposite side almost blocked the road, leaving only a very narrow part. Long Chen seemed to be soaked in joy. He didn't notice the people in front of him, he just walked forward, and when he was about to pass by people from the Bai family, suddenly the people from the Bai family bumped into Long Chen with a heavy shoulder. Careful, Luo Yanfeng didn't expect that this group of people would be so arrogant that they would directly attack here. He was furious and hurriedly stretched out his hand to pull Long Chen. However, Long Chen was out of balance, and under Luo Yanfeng's pull his body spun rapidly, and while he was dancing his big hand slammed the face of the person who hit him. Snapped. The sound is not very loud, but it is very crisp and everyone in the audience can hear it clearly, and the person who bumped into Long Chen just wanted to make Long Chen look ugly, so he didn't use too much force, and of course he didn't dare to use too much force. If you hurt someone, you will be severely punished. In the end, he bumped into Long Chen, and before he could feel complacent, Long Chen slapped him hard on the face with a big mouth. This big slap made his eyes stare like gold stars, and the world was spinning. If it wasn't for someone helping him, he will lie directly on the ground. At that moment, everyone was stunned, and Long Chen's slap was a little weird, as if it was an unintentional mistake, but also like it was intentional. Do you dare to hit someone? The powerhouses of the Bai family were furious. It's obvious that you guys bumped into people on purpose. Long Chen's body was out of balance, and he just happened to bump into your people. Why did you bite back? Luo Ying countered directly. Which eye of yours saw that we deliberately bumped into someone? The other party was also unreasonable and shouted. It's unreasonable, isn't it? What's wrong with being unreasonable? For a while, people on both sides became angry. The people from the Bai family came to deliberately find fault, and they were so arrogant and domineering. The people from the Luo family couldn't stand it anymore. Long Chen hid in the crowd and pretended to be pitiful. The scene in front of him made Long Chen feel too naive. These were just a group of children who had not experienced bloody education and were still in the rebellious stage. Perhaps it was countless years of stable life that nourished their childishness and stupidity. Long Chen felt that he and these children who grew up in the greenhouse were like people from two worlds. Long Chen was protected by Luo family's disciples. Obviously, in their eyes, Long Chen was too weak, and he didn't even condense the Tianmai dragon qi, fearing that he would suffer. It feels great to have a 9th grade bloodline? Your Luo family has completely declined, so is Luo Zichuan still alive? At this time, a disciple of the Bai family sneered. My grass mudat. Hearing the man's words, Long Chen ran away in an instant and rushed out. Long Chen shot like lightning, and before the man could react, Long Chen grabbed his chin. I made your mouth cheap. Long Chen roared angrily, using his hands hard. In the splash of blood, the man's mouth was crushed by Long Chen. Boom! Long Chen's kick was like electricity, and he kicked the man's crotch fiercely. With a loud bang, the man's legs suddenly became longer and split from the navel. Long Chen gritted his teeth at this moment, like a ferocious beast. This person dared to humiliate Grandpa. Thinking of Grandpa's appearance, Long Chen almost lost control and killed all of them. Luo Yanfeng and the others were also taken aback. Who would have thought that Long Chen, who looked soft and weak, was so ruthless when he struck? Although the man didn't die, everyone was shocked by his miserable appearance. Even the strong members of the Bai family were frightened. A group of small-armed bastards, who don't know how to live or die, dare to speak cheaply. Believe it or not, I will make you regret coming to this world? Long Chen roared, as if he was rushing to the sky, and his killing intent scared the group of strong men. At this time, Long Chen was like a wild beast. You must know that Long Chen has fought in all directions over the years, killed countless creatures, and accumulated boundless murderous aura. Normally, in order to control his aura, Long Chen tried to keep himself in a peaceful state of mind, not to let the murderous aura affect his sanity and encourage the power of demons. But when he was furious, his murderous aura would erupt. Even the experienced and powerful would feel terrified, let alone this group of children who grew up in the greenhouse. You dare to hurt someone, just wait, we will report to the secretary, and you just wait to be punished. The group of people were frightened, left a harsh word, and just carried the one who passed out. The guy ran away. Seeing these people run away, Long Chen still gritted his teeth. Luo Ying hurriedly comforted, don't worry, there are people from us in the academy, and besides, they provoked first and humiliated others later. Even if you hurt someone, it's justifiable. At that time, the most you can do is apologize and deduct amethyst. It's just a stone. Seeing Long Chen trembling, they thought that after Long Chen made a move, they were a little scared, and they stepped forward to comfort Long Chen. What they didn't know was that Long Chen was trembling because he forcibly suppressed his killing intent. These ignorant idiots are too hateful. After entering the Purple Blood clan for half a day, Long Chen felt that he was going to lose his patience, but for the sake of his grandfather and mother, he had to endure it. Long Chen, your strength is a bit scary, your kick almost kicked that guy to death. A disciple of the Luo family said. Everyone nodded. The strength of Long Chen's kick was too amazing. The other party was the 9 Meridian Heaven Sage. When Long Chen kicked out, his purple energy body protection divine light was automatically generated, but the body protection divine light was still captured by Long Chen. It exploded with one kick. Long Chen also secretly rejoiced that this guy's blood power automatically protected his body, otherwise Long Chen's kick would have kicked him to death. Come on, we'll take you to receive the benefits of core disciples. That guy doesn't care about them. Even if they sue, it will take 10 days to go through the process. Don't worry about it for the time being. Luo Yanfeng said. Under the leadership of Luo Yanfeng and others, Long Chen received an identity plate, clothes, etc. in an unknown place, but the clothes were rejected by Long Chen, and he was still used to wearing his own black robe. When asked what weapon he wanted, Long Chen chose the same as most people, and asked for a long sword. When Long Chen got the weapon, he couldn't help sighing secretly about the background of the Zixue clan. This long sword is a human emperor's weapon. The runes carved on it are specially made for the Zixue clan. Only the power of the Zixue clan can activate it. Unparalleled sharpness, amazing power. After getting the identity plate, Luo Yanfeng took Long Chen directly to the front of a mountain gate, pointing at the gate and saying, "Brother, that is the place where the holy pool is baptized, and those we have baptized are not allowed to approach." Holding the nameplate, after entering the holy pool, accept the baptism first. The Tianmai dragon chi of our family will be awakened automatically, no need for you to do anything. You just need to try not to conflict with others after entering. After all, we can't take care of you inside. Thank you, Long Chen nodded, and walked towards the gate with the nameplate. Chapter 5740 When Long Chen teleported out, the two old men at the door were still asleep and ignored Long Chen. When Long Chen came out and found that Luo Yanfeng and the others had been waiting for him here, he was moved. Not only is Luo Yanfeng powerful, but what's rare is that he also has a pure heart, not bullying the weak, not domineering, which is very rare. The most important thing is that these people really treat Long Chen as one of their own. When Long Chen showed his bloodline close to the 10th rank, they were all proud of him. When they finally fell to the 9th rank, they felt sorry for Long Chen, and Long Chen saw all of this. Originally, Long Chen didn't feel very good about the Zixue lineage, but when he met that idiot Luo Shenghui, he felt even worse. Fortunately, there are people like Luo Yanfeng, who made him feel the warmth of the family. Otherwise, what is the difference between the Luo family and the Long family? Come out so soon? When they saw Long Chen appearing, Luo Yanfeng and the others' faces changed slightly. There was often only one reason for coming out so quickly, and that was the saturation of the power of the dragon veins. Calculated according to the time, Long Chen can condense 9 dragon veins at most. If it is 13 dragon veins, it will take at least a few more days to wait. However, in order to avoid Long Chen's disappointment, they still squeezed out an expectant smile and said, "How is it? Does it feel good to advance to Jumai Tianxing? Do you feel that the whole person is full of strength?" Everyone stepped forward, chattering in unison. "Are you kidding me? You guys are taking such good care of me. If you only gather 9 dragon veins, how can I have the nerve to come out?" Long Chen said with a smile. "Could it be?" Everyone was taken aback. Long Chen chuckled, and directly summoned 13 purple blood dragon veins. Everyone couldn't help being ecstatic. The Long family had another 13 dragon vein level master. "Wait, your dragon veins, why, so thin?" Soon everyone realized that Long Chen's purple dragon veins were only 9 feet long, and the area occupied by the gathering of 9 dragons was only a few feet. The most unbelievable thing is that what Long Chen summoned was the dragon vein entity, not the projection. You must know that all physical dragon veins are usually thousands of miles, or even huge, and Long Chen's dragon veins are too small. The most important thing is that it can't feel the violent coercion that is as vast as the sea. For a while, everyone is stunned. They have never seen such a weak dragon vein. What they don't know is that under Long Zanshan's devil-like training, Long Chen has learned the ultimate control of power, and he habitually compresses all power to the extreme. And his purple blood dragon veins have been compressed to the extreme, which is what it looks like now. In fact, not only purple blood, but also the 3 dragon veins of dragon blood, star blood, and supreme blood all look like this. Today's Long Chen has already comprehended the essence of Professor Long Zhantian, but if he wants to master the achievements of Long Zhantian for more than 20 years in a few days, that is simply a fantasy. In order to be able to get used to that kind of extreme control, one needs to compress the power that can be displayed to the minimum at all times, so that even breathing is equivalent to practicing. Anyway, Long Chen has condensed 13 purple blood dragon veins, and my Luo family has added another master, hehe. Luo Yanfeng patted Long Chen's shoulder and said, "Let's go. Next, they'll take you to the Purple Immortal Pavilion to learn the special skills and supernatural powers of our Purple Blood clan." Knowing that Long Chen is wandering in the outside world, he has never had the opportunity to practice the magical powers of the Zixue clan. After condensing the dragon veins, he needs to learn step by step. The supernatural powers of the Purple Blood clan can only be exerted at their strongest with the special skills and supernatural powers of the Purple Blood clan. I want to go see my grandfather first, Long Chen said. Also, Luo Yanfeng nodded. Long Chen had just condensed the dragon's veins. It stands to reason that at this time, he should take a break to adapt to the soaring power. It is indeed a bit too impatient to let him practice the magical power directly. In this way, under the escort of Luo Yanfeng and others, they met many provocative eyes along the way, but with Luo Yanfeng around, these people only dared to be provocative in their eyes. However, there were also some people who were quite friendly to Long Chen, who took the initiative to say hello to Long Chen, and Long Chen also responded one by one. When he returned to Luo's house, Luo Yanfeng sent Long Chen to the residence where Luo Zichuan was, and left, saying that he was going to participate in a big battle, and told Long Chen not to worry. When he practiced the martial arts and supernatural powers, he had certain, after gaining strength, fight side by side with them. When Long Chen heard this, he couldn't help but look a little weird, but his father told him to pretend to be cowardly, so he could only be obedient. When he came to Luo Zichuan's room, he found that only his father was guarding here. When he saw Long Chen coming in, Long Zhantian smiled. "Everything is going well?" Long Chen smiled and said, "It went very well. Father, I have condensed 13 dragon veins, and I have reached the peak of the dragon veins. What should I do now?" Long Chen said, "You first send the power of purple blood into your grandfather's Dantian, Sea of Consciousness, and Shenzong, and replace his original fire of life with the power of your own life. With your current control, this is a piece of cake, no need to be nervous. Do these things well, first protect your grandfather's soul, and then strip all the purple blood from his body." Long Zhantian said. Long Chen was startled. "You mean?" Long Zhantian nodded. "Are you willing?" Certainly, Long Chen said directly without even thinking about it. When the two of them said this, Luo Zichuan's head moved slightly in a coma, as if shaking his head, but the amplitude was very small and undetectable. Unexpectedly, Grandpa heard what the two of them said. You know, calling him before weakened the power of the enchantment, but now that the enchantment is normally opened, he still heard it. Long Chen looked at Long Zhantian, with a look of embarrassment on his face. Obviously, Grandpa disagreed. But Long Zhantian pretended not to see it and said, "Let's start." While speaking, with a wave of his hand, the enchantment covering Luo Zichuan's body disappeared instantly. The moment the enchantment disappeared, the terrifying power of the curse rushed towards his face. Long Chen stretched out his hand to press the Shunkei acupoint on Luo Zichuan's abdomen, and a group of purple vortexes converged and poured into Luo Zichuan's body, split into 3 groups in an instant, and galloped away. Seeing that the power of Long Chen's purple blood is easy to use, Long Zhanshan's eyes were filled with relief. The power he just obtained can be mastered so skillfully, which is worthy of his painstaking efforts to impart it. When Long Chen followed the steps to keep Luo Zichuan's life and soul first, he raised his big hand, and the endless purple blood mixed with maggot-like runes was pulled out of Luo Zichuan's body by Long Chen. What a vicious method! Seeing those disgusting curse runes, Long Chen couldn't help gnashing his teeth, and the fire of the sun emerged in his palm. Chi. In the flames, the curse rune was slowly refined, and finally turned into fly ash. After the curse rune was stripped off, only a drop of Luo Zichuan's blood essence remained in the end. Because the curse rune has penetrated into the blood essence, while refining it, it also consumed a large amount of blood essence, which is why it is difficult to deal with. The last drop of blood essence gathered between Long Chen's fingers and slowly touched Luo Zichuan's eyebrows. Originally, because Luo Zichuan was stripped of his blood essence, his whole body shriveled up, looking very scary, but when that drop of blood essence entered his eyebrows, immediately after that, the vast power of purple blood poured into him like a tide. Limbs and bones. The shriveled body also quickly plumped up, but at this time, Long Chen's face was pale and his body was crumbling, but Long Chen gritted his teeth and injected all the power of purple blood into Luo Zichuan's body as much as possible. Finally, Long Chen couldn't hold on anymore, his body swayed, and he almost fell to the ground, but at this moment, a pair of powerful hands grabbed him. Grandpa Longchen became a little weak because he had consumed too much purple blood and soul power, but when he saw that big hand, Longchen couldn't help but shouted in surprise. Chapter 5742. Long Zanshan's voice was trembling, his eyes were red, and he was extremely excited when he finally got the news from his wife. Thinking that his wife was risking her life to travel between the worlds to save their father and son, that would be a close call, and his heart was cut like a knife. Later, she saw the disappearance of the Tianwu continent. That was after the World War of the Tianwu continent. She must have thought her son was dead. How painful and desperate would she be then? Father-in-law, please tell me where she is? Long Zhantian choked up. He wished to see his wife right away. He wanted to tell him that his son was still alive, not only alive, but also alive and well. Luo Zichuan patted Long Zanshan's shoulder and said, I don't know her exact location, but don't worry, we have a way to find her. Hearing Luo Zichuan's tone, Long Zhantian felt a lot more at ease, but he soon felt that something was wrong. Father-in-law, you don't know where she is, so how do you know about Ningxuang's situation? Luo Zichuan said, speaking of this matter, we have to talk about the festival with the Bai family. It turns out that the Bai family has a mysterious treasure, the Heavenly Dao Roulette. In fact, the Heavenly Dao Roulette was originally shared by the whole Zixue clan. As a result, because of its method of control, it was controlled by the Bai family, so it is now a private treasure of the Bai family. This Heavenly Roulette can calculate the heavenly way, deduce a person's past and future, and can also locate the enemy. It only needs one person's blood and the secret method of the Bai family to perform the deduction. In fact, this Heavenly Roulette is useless in the hands of Zixu's lineage now. They are all their own people here, and there are no enemies to use. As for our own people, the Heavenly Dao Roulette can only be used to calculate people who are contaminated with the power of heavenly law in the big world. They are in a small world and cannot deduce themselves at all. Until Luo Zichuan's arrival, the Luo family and the Bai family were at odds, and the Bai family even secretly captured Luo Changwu, using his blood essence to deduce the origin of Luo Zichuan's lineage. Through the Tian Dao Roulette, they saw that there was nothing wrong with the Luo family, but Luo Zichuan was furious when he learned about it. This is simply deceiving people too much, even suspecting that there is something wrong with them. It is nothing more than doubting and verifying it in such a humiliating way. The Luo family was furious and wanted to settle accounts with the Bai family, but the Bai family argued that it was also for the sake of the Zixue clan and refused to admit their mistakes. The two families were at odds with each other, but they ended up in such a conflict that a bloody battle almost broke out directly. The most hateful thing is that the Bai family even said that there are not many pictures of Luo Zichuan in Luo Changhua's Dao fragments, and even asked Luo Zichuan to accept the verification of Tian Dao Roulette. Their so-called verification, on the surface, is to know Luo Zichuan's life experience and intentions, but in fact, they want to use the Heavenly Roulette to see if they can find out what shady activities Luo Zichuan has. This Tian Dao Roulette has amazing deduction ability, but unfortunately, Luo Changwu is upright. In the deduction screen, they didn't get what they wanted, and now they want to deduce Luo Zichuan, which is clearly looking for trouble. At that time, the patriarch was alarmed, thinking that the Bai family had gone too far, but to everyone's surprise, Luo Zichuan agreed. Then, under the watchful eyes of everyone, a drop of blood essence was taken out and dripped on the roulette. In order to find out all about Luo Zichuan's past, the Bai family also spent a lot of money and used 8 top experts to control the Tian Dao Roulette. As a result, Luo Ningxuang's shadow appeared on the screen. It turned out that Luo Zichuan had an idea at that time. If the Dao Roulette was really so magical that day, why not use it to see whether his daughter is alive or dead now? What Luo Zichuan told Long Zhantian was the picture he saw that day, but the picture was incomplete and fragmentary. The last picture was Luo Ningxuang wearing a purple gold crown and holding a purple gold staff, leading countless strong men of the Purple Blood clan. Those who work together to peek at the next picture. The purple gold crown and the purple gold staff are tokens of the Purple Blood lineage, a symbol of power and prestige. When Luo Ningxuang found Tianwu continent, her body seemed to be hollowed out in an instant. When she saw her fainted, Luo Zichuan's heart was in great pain. However, at this moment, the 8 strong men of the Bai family spurted blood wildly. It turned out that they had already discovered something was wrong and wanted to withdraw their power. But that day, a strange phenomenon happened to the roulette wheel, and it couldn't stop. It kept drawing their power, and finally the screen disappeared, and they were almost drained alive. The strong Bai family scolded Luo Zichuan for being mean and shameless, not using his own blood, but Luo Zichuan said that it was his own blood, and if they persisted for a while, they would be able to see their own images. While talking, Luo Zichuan took the initiative to urge the Bai family to continue. Luo Zichuan still had a drop of blood essence, which was also Luo Ningxuang's. These 2 drops of blood essence came from Luo Ningxuang's natal jade card. Luo Zichuan really wanted to know what happened later. He knew that Luo Ningxuang must have thought that her son and husband were dead, and he was afraid that Luo Ningxuang would do something stupid in despair. However, the Bai family cursed loudly. That day, the roulette wheel was consumed so much that it would not last for 3 to 5 years. Don't even think about using it again. Moreover, after the weird scene happened just now, the Bai family members were unwilling to take any more risks. They were afraid of being sucked to death. Luo Zichuan said, "Although I don't have Ningxuang's whereabouts, I once asked the patriarch, and he told me that the clan is from the purple blood Lei family. Raise. This jade plaque was given to me by the patriarch. It is the nameplate of the Lei clan. I originally planned to find Ningxuang by myself, but now it seems that it is more appropriate to entrust him to you." As he spoke, Luo Zichuan handed a jade tablet to Long Zhantian. On the jade tablet was drawn a symbol of purple thunder, exuding an ancient aura. Although it has gone through countless years, it has been warmed in the Shen Qi, and its spirituality has not been lost. However, it is 9 days old, and it is not easy to find them. Luo Zichuan said, "Father-in-law, don't worry, leave this matter to me." Long Zhantian carefully put away the jade plaque and said with an excited face, "If there are clues, there is hope. Then please, if you can find Ningxuang, tell him that I, the father, am sorry for her. I will apologize to her when we meet," Luo Zichuan said. "Father-in-law, you are serious. If that's the case, my son-in-law will leave now." Long Zhantian said. Luo Zichuan knew that he was impatient, nodded and said, "The road is dangerous, so be careful. By the way, won't you say goodbye to Long Chen?" Long Zhantian looked at Long Chen's back, smiled slightly and said, "No need, my son will definitely understand me." Long Zhantian saluted Luo Zichuan again, and then rushed away, looking at the direction Long Zhantian left. Luo Zichuan sighed after a long time. After sighing, he couldn't help but smile wryly. At the beginning he hated this son-in-law to death, but now that he thinks about it, he is sometimes too stupid to be cured. Chapter 5743 Call. For a whole day, Long Chen's soul power finally recovered about 50%. He had consumed a lot of soul power by condensing the purple blood dragon veins in the soul refining god's pool before. When the 13 dragon veins are condensed, a kind of denial is formed, but it is not completely filled, about 80%. Fortunately, the power of Long Chen's soul is strong enough. Otherwise it will cause overdraft and recovery will be slower. Although he has recovered about 50% now, as long as there is no fierce battle, it is enough for him to cope with normal situations. Just as Long Chen woke up, Luo Zichuan appeared in front of Long Chen. Grandpa, seeing his grandfather's radiant look, Long Chen couldn't help but feel ecstatic. For this grandfather, Long Chen respected him from the bottom of his heart. "Your father is gone." Luo Zichuan greeted Long Chen. "He has news about his mother?" Long Chen was surprised and delighted. "It's kind of a clue." Seeing that Long Chen was so pleasantly surprised, Luo Zichuan didn't want to dampen his enthusiasm. "Hey, just have a look. Your son-in-law is bold, wise, resourceful, and ruthless. I believe he will find his mother soon." Long Chen said with a smile. He didn't care about Long Zhanshan's departure at all. His departure also meant that the purpose of the 2 fathers had been completed. Cruel and merciless? Luo Zichuan was taken aback. This son-in-law didn't look like that kind of person. Don't be fooled by him, a person who can even kill his own son. Do you think he is cruel? Long Chen pouted. Huh? Seeing Long Chen's disapproving expression, Luo Zichuan couldn't help laughing. The father and son were no one else. When he came to the Purple Blood clan, Luo Zichuan never seemed to have smiled, but being with Long Chen always made people so happy. When he was with Long Chen, no matter who it was easy to be infected by his optimistic mood. Let's go, Yen Feng and the others are not here. Grandpa will take you to the Zixin Pavilion to learn the magical powers. Let me tell you, the magical powers of the Purple Blood will open your eyes. Mention the magical powers here, Luo Zichuan was full of pride. Zixin Pavilion, in fact, is a complete stone mountain, carved into pavilions, and the majestic appearance shocked Long Chen. This building was handed down from the era of chaos, and it is full of simplicity and heavy atmosphere. Among other things, just looking at this building can give people a feeling of sublimation of the soul. Grandpa, my father and I came to the Purple Blood clan for the purpose of getting news from my mother. Now that our goal has been achieved, do I not have to be so aggrieved? Long Chen asked tentatively. Why are you aggrieved? Luo Zichuan was taken aback. We came to the Purple Blood clan, fearing that your status would be embarrassing, so my father asked me to behave like a man with my tail between my legs. But you also know that I don't like to be a person with my tail between my legs. Second, I need to put my tail between my legs if I don't have the skills. Don't you think so? Long Chen said with a hey smile. Luo Zichuan looked at Long Chen smiling like a little fox, and suddenly felt something was wrong, so he couldn't help asking, what do you want to express? What I mean is, whoever provokes me, I will slap him with a big mouth. Can you cover it? Long Chen asked. Luo Zichuan immediately understood that he felt aggrieved by his grandson. Since the goal had been achieved, he could show the fox's tail, there was no need to pretend anymore. Your father brought you here. Apart from the news of your mother, he probably hoped that you would be able to practice more things of the Purple Blood clan here. As long as you don't kill people, basically I can handle it, but if you accidentally beat someone to death, after all, the clan has clan rules, it will be difficult to handle. Even if you are not kicked out of the Purple Blood clan, when the time comes, all kinds of resources will limit you. Isn't it a waste of time? Luo Zichuan said. I understand this. I can contribute to the Purple Blood clan, because I am a member of the clan, and I have to do my duty. Similarly, as a member of the clan, I should also enjoy the power that I should have. No matter when I am fulfilling my duty or exercising my power, if someone obstructs me, do I have the right to fight back? Long Chen said. Luo Zichuan finally understood what Long Chen meant. This guy was so oblique when talking to his grandfather. Okay, don't talk to me anymore. Although Zixu's lineage is chaotic, there is a patriarch in power, and there is order in the chaos. As long as you don't touch his bottom line, and within the scope allowed by the rules, you can play however you want. Luo Zichuan said angrily. Okay. With Luo Zichuan's words, Long Chen immediately understood. Judging from Luo Zichuan's tone, the major families of the Zixue lineage restrict each other, and their strengths are not much different. The task of the old patriarch is to balance the contradictions among the major families to avoid bloody battles. All kinds of small fights are allowed, but they must be within the scope of the rules. The so-called rules are games between the major forces. To put it bluntly, it is still a set of rock, scissors, and paper. You control me, I control him, and he controls you. Purple Blood has distributed all kinds of power, so that everyone can check each other. If there is an imbalance, the old patriarch will stand up and correct it. By this time, Long Chen had completely discovered the basic structure of the Purple Blood lineage, so he was completely at ease. The previous generation of the Luo family was not weaker than anyone else, but this generation was weaker. Because there were too few arrogances in this generation, the Luo family felt anxious, and other families also lost their original respect for the Luo family. That's why the Luo family pampered this generation of disciples so much, even to the point of bottomless indulgence. It was because of this that a fool like Luo Shenghui was born. While speaking, an old man and a young man had already arrived at the gate of Zixin Pavilion. In front of the gate, there were 2 God Emperor powerhouses and more than a dozen disciples guarding it. These disciples are all 13-veined heavenly saints from major families. They are all on duty. With them, ordinary disciples dare not be presumptuous at all. As for the 2 God Emperor powerhouses, this month they are on duty in the Luo family. When they saw Luo Zichuan coming, they immediately got up to greet him. In the Luo family, no matter the older generation or the younger generation, most of them respect Luo Zichuan, not only because of his super strength, but also because of his magnanimity. It can be said that among the strong members of the Luo family, Luo Zichuan's prestige is close to that of the patriarch Luo Yingchen, and Luo Yingchen is also very fond of Luo Zichuan, taking care of him in many ways, and trying to give him more opportunities to establish prestige. Luo Yingchen is training his own successor. Although he is powerful, he knows that his commanding ability is not strong. Suffering from the lack of talents in this field in the Luo family, he could only grit his teeth and stiffen his teeth. In fact, he had already suffered terribly and wished to train a successor as soon as possible. Now that Luo Zichuan is here, he is happier than anyone else. Luo Zichuan was severely injured, and he almost ran away. If something happened to Luo Zichuan, he would really fight the other party desperately. "Brother Zichuan, you are here." The 2 hurriedly got up and greeted Luo Zichuan warmly. "Take care," Luo Zichuan said to the 2 of them, and the 2 immediately understood. Long Chen couldn't help laughing when he saw it, and walked into the purple immortal pavilion with steps that his relatives would not recognize. Chapter 5744. There are 9 floors in Zixin Pavilion. Long Chen was too lazy to look at the most basic things and went directly to the 9th floor. All the most powerful exercises and supernatural powers of the Zixue lineage are here, and the disciples of the Zixue lineage have all learned them step by step from the lowest level. Every time you enter the upper level, you need to pass the assessment. However, Long Chen is already a 13-veined heavenly saint-level powerhouse. He has the identity plate of the core disciple and can directly go to the 9th level. The 9th floor is divided into east and west areas. One is the east area, which is a free study area, while the west area is guarded by special people. It's not that I'm afraid that someone will steal it or that someone will destroy it intentionally, but that the spells here are too advanced, and when I'm comprehending and learning, someone needs to protect the spell to avoid accidents. Long Chen went directly to the West District, and the watchman was a strong God Emperor, who was also the Purple Crown God Emperor, but he had never seen Long Chen, because he was not in the hall that day. Seeing that Long Chen was a stranger and wearing a black robe, he couldn't help being taken aback, then checked Long Chen's nameplate, and after confirming that it was correct, he said lightly, "Learn the exercises, do what you can, don't make a sound, and don't affect others." Long Chen nodded. After entering the West District, Long Chen found that there are beams of light hanging from the top of his head. The beams of light have their own space. On the beams of light, there are names and introductions of exercises. If you want to learn, press the enchantment with one hand, and the enchantment will shoot a divine light to detect whether the person who comes is qualified to learn. It is said to be a test, but it can also be said to be a test. If you pass the test, you will be sucked into the beam of light and enter the practice space. But the intensity of the test was astonishing and the process was not so pleasant, so the guard reminded, "Don't make any noise, just give up if you can't bear it, and don't scream and howl." Purple flame palm? It looks like it's from the fire department, so I'm not interested. Fire sun cross fist? It doesn't seem very strong either. Burning blood opening sky slash? The name looks very strong, but if you hear burning blood, it sounds like a self-harm move, opening heaven? Forget it, I have the 9 forms of opening heaven. Long Chen has seen many names of magical powers along the way, and just by looking at the names, he knows that they are not his own. And the word Kaiton reminded Long Chen of the 9 forms of opening heaven. At the beginning, Long Chen modified the 9 forms of opening heaven and integrated the power of the laws of the fairy world to display them. But Long Chen later learned the crescent moon shocking heaven slash, and he put aside the 9 sky-opening forms, because Long Chen found that the 9 sky-opening forms he had created were too rough and not very practical. Even the sky-opening rune was erased by Dragon Bone Shiwa. Obviously, as he gradually became stronger, he began to dislike the 9 forms of sky-opening. However, this time, after Long Zhanshan's instructing, Long Chen opened up a new world. Long Zhantian was originally a genius of the sky, and he did not know how many magical powers he had created in his life. When he was instructing Long Chen, he passed on all his experience and insights for so many years to him. Long Chen not only learned the almost abnormal method of controlling power, but also understood the essence of the operation of the spell. Long Zhanshan's whimsical ideas, like a powerful and unconstrained style, gave Long Chen an endless and vast space. At that time, Long Chen's first thought was to improve the 9 forms of opening heaven again. At that time, Long Chen created the 9 forms of opening heaven that could be performed in the fairy world. He was extremely proud and thought that he was simply a genius. However, after being instructed by Long Zhantian, Long Chen went to look at the 9 forms of opening the sky, and felt that it was too rough and childish, and it was not eye-catching at all. Seeing the word Kaitian now, Long Chen immediately inspired his desire to improve the 9 forms of Kaitian. Looking around, Long Chen felt that many supernatural powers were not his own. Lingfeng sword art? Long Chen's eyes lit up when he saw the name on the beam of light. Looking at the name, it seemed quite powerful. Long Chen stretched out his hand to press the beam of light, and the moment his palm touched the beam of light, a tall figure bumped directly towards him. That person seemed to have been following Long Chen for a long time. When Long Chen made a move, he also stretched out his hand to press the beam of light, and at the same time bumped into Long Chen with his shoulder. This was clearly causing trouble on purpose. Fuck Nima, how could Long Chen not know that someone was following him? So he waved his hand and slapped him with a big mouth. Snapped, Long Chen slapped the man's face. This time, Long Chen didn't get used to him. He put some effort into his hand, and with a bang, half of the man's face burst open, and purple blood splashed out. The man slapped half of his face with Long Chen's slap, and let out a horrified cry. He was shocked to find that his jaw had drooped. The man's scream shocked many people in an instant, and 3 people immediately surrounded him, and one of them couldn't help being furious when he saw this. You dare to hurt someone, call? The 3 people couldn't help but say that they grabbed Long Chen from 3 directions. Even without looking at their signs, you can tell from the timing of their appearance and the angle of their attack that these 3 people are in the same group as those on the ground. They intentionally asked someone to provoke Long Chen. If Long Chen dared to make a move, they would bite him to death. It was Long Chen who made the first move, and then they fought back. However, they didn't expect that Long Chen would strike so hard that he almost crippled the bait. Seeing the opportunity, the 3 of them shot immediately. Chi 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 chi, ah. There was a scream that was more miserable than that of that person, and the 3 of them flew upside down at the same time. At this moment, the people around rushed over, and when they saw the scene on the ground, they all gasped. I saw 2 arms and 1 leg lying under Long Chen's feet, blood spilled all over the ground, and 4 people were lying on the ground, wailing in pain. Looking at the stubbles on the arms and thighs, they were torn off abruptly, and people's scalps felt numb. How painful it was. Call. At this moment, Long Chen was sucked into the beam of light, and he passed the test. What happened? At this moment, the Purple Crown Emperor appeared, and when he saw the scene on the ground, he couldn't help shouting angrily. That, the bastard of the Long family, hurt people, hurt me to death, ah. The man whose thigh was torn off screamed, holding back the pain. What a fart, quickly connect the severed limbs. Seeing this, some strong people hurried forward to help them splice the broken limbs together. They only need to use the power of purple blood, and the severed limbs will be connected soon, and it is not regeneration, so it will not consume much blood. However, when the limbs were spliced together, they let out even more miserable screams. Only then did people realize that purple flames rose from their wounds, preventing the regeneration of flesh and blood, let alone splicing. This. Everyone was stunned. What kind of power is this? The Emperor Simeon had a gloomy face. Seeing that 4 people came from the Bai family, how could he not know what happened? But letting them howl here is not an option. He walked up to the man with the broken leg, and the divine pattern appeared in his big hand, pressing on the place of his broken leg, trying to extinguish the flame. As a result, the man let out a more miserable scream, his body convulsed, and he passed out. This time, even the face of the Purple Crown God Emperor level powerhouse couldn't help but change. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.